I'm just hoping you guys can hear me. This comes out. Yeah, if not, hopefully, or don't. I mean, I can figure it out later. Let's see if she can maybe. Howdy, dog. Well, this conversation I'm listening to, if you can hear that, I'm assuming you can, is going on over at Jamie Russell's channel with a newcomer. I've never seen him before, called Easy Rider. Promote his channel in a second here. And he's an atheist, ex-Christian. We can't hear it at all. Be canceling out. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. When I do this. Try changing my mic settings. That looks worse. Looks like you can hear me better. Still can't hear it. Yeah, try to cut the different methods here. That's interesting. Try to look at this minimize window though. Well, they've been having a pretty good conversation going on for a little bit. I've been listening in. Wrote myself a nice letter of affirmation. See, and now I did that. Wild Heart, what's up, buddy? You're in praises right now? Yeah, I was up there listening earlier. Let's get a little. Did you see Basement Dwellers' most recent handiwork? I was having fun with that one. Shit, my camera's still on. Damn it, Jim. I'm fucked up. You're giving away all your secrets, man. All right, so I got a few things here. Let's see. It's probably still working on it. Yeah, it's still running an upload over there. And the old video clips. And then, shit, we got a truck. Hold on.
All right, have a good night, brother.
The last person who said that to me was Pixie Storms. Okay, so let's oh, hi. There's somebody got a Wild Heart in the background. Authenticated with YouTube. Gotta check that. Howdy.
Hello. How's it going? Yeah, I was just in praises. They're talking about pre-trib, post-trib. I don't know what trib means. Just boring as well.
Wait, free what?
Pre-trib. I think it means like tribulation or something. Yeah.
Oh, so like prior to the second coming or whatever? Is that what they're talking about? Like,
Yeah. For like 2 hours. Yeah. Just eyes just glazed over. Do you know what I mean?
I was listening to a guy earlier who went like left field like that. Like I was over there and I was just looking at it and it was just doing one of those like, oh, it's a sign of the end times. And I was like, ooh, that was unexpected. And I figured you could flip it at some point.
Yeah, like wars and rumors of wars. Like that's a rare thing. That doesn't happen like all the fucking time.
I was watching a Breeze stream earlier, and Bree brought up a channel like that where it was like, it's something like I can't remember the name of it now, but it advertises like it's a science channel or like nature channel, and then you go on there, it's the same thing. It's just preaching.
Yeah, they do that a lot. Yeah, pretend to be science and then just kind of slide the Bible in kind of back door, you know.
Yeah. So I'm gonna plug this guy, Easy Rider. I just caught him over at Jamie Russell's channel. He's only got 65 subs. But he's got quite a bit of content. Looks like he's been around for a while. I've never seen him, but he was having some pretty good conversation. I was entertained. I gave him a subscription. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Have you got a link? I'll sub to that. That sounds good.
I don't. Let me see if I can get it. I just looked it up. It took the. I was just watching the stream too. I should have done it from there.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but I'm not sure. But I need to build my subs up as well, so that'll be good. Not my subs, I mean the people I'm sub to. Do you know what I mean? I'm just sub to Beckel. Yeah, because he said he was going live later on. Yeah, that's one problem with getting your YouTube channel deleted every couple of months, like I do. Yeah, you lose all your subs. So I had like 600, 700 at one point. I've now got about 60. So.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at the point where I should probably like make another backup account or something just in case, but I haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, no, Veckel posted like open room was a day or two ago, and I jumped in like right when I was about to pop in there. Like it was only running for like a minute or two, and it just shut it down, and it said, "Oh, video has been removed." Like, wonder what happened there.
Oh, that's what, yeah. Unless he got a palm bomb or something. Yeah, that would be fun. Okay.
Yeah, I put the link in the side chat for that channel for anybody who's interested. Yeah, he sounded like a pretty interesting dude to talk to. He's like a former Christian. He's got he's a bachelor's in theology, but he's now an atheist. So, and they were getting on pretty good. It was a good conversation.
Cool. Is he American? No.
No, he's an Aussie.
What's that?
He's Australian. He's an Aussie.
Oh, all right. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That'll be good. Yeah. Cheers.
So, have you ever been able to successfully? I was thinking about this earlier. Like when a theist asks you the question, "Why are you an atheist?" Do you have like a pretty set answer for that, like a justification? They feel like you have to like, or does it seem like we really have to answer that question, or how do you feel about that?
I just go with the usual because I haven't been convinced that there's a God. I haven't had enough evidence given to me that there's a God. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking this earlier, and I was like, okay, so I cannot logically justify the belief in an eternal being that creates all things and passes moral judgment on all other beings. Like there's just I don't know.
Yeah, that would work with like Christians and that, but like if you just thinking that wouldn't work with like a deist. Do you know what I mean? If you're talking to a deist, they just think that God created the universe and all the moral thing would be. Yeah, but yeah, that would work.
It's like the only logical position. I mean, if God would be a monster.
Yeah.
Did you? I don't know if I did. Did you catch Basement Dwellers thing, or did you? I don't know if you answered that or not. I was like, I don't know.
No, but I've not seen. Was it in Praises or in
So yeah, it was a series of clips taken from one of Praise's panels, or so I guess Olive got into it with Jill, and there's several people involved, but Jill, Jill was refusing obviously to address Olive and all that good stuff. So that was the way he put it together. It was just genius. That was classic.
Yeah. Oh no, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah. Was he just refusing to talk to her like he does with women sometimes?
Yeah. Oh, and she was flipping out. She's like, you.
Yeah, I think he said once that the only woman he talks to is his wife. But he's supposedly a teacher. So when he says woman, I'm presuming he means like adult woman, unless he just ignores half his class. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, well, in that case, he's just talking at them, right? He doesn't actually have to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being like so constricted that you can't even speak to a woman outside of that doesn't even make sense, because prior to being married, how did you meet your wife? You had to have talked to her before you married her, right? Or it was yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and he's actually told the story of how he met. I think it was at work. I don't know what job he was doing, but he asked her 3 questions. Who is Jesus? And she had to get all 3 of these right before he would marry her. Lucky girl. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Now, you think there's no reason to talk to women? Women's opinions are invalid if you're not going to have relations with them? Okay.
There's no reason to talk to women if they just get annoying.
I think there's spaces for it. Women tend to gossip a lot more, and I'm not saying it's not exclusive, because men do this too. But on average, in my experience, women tend to gossip a lot more, and that's a conversation I will walk away from. But that doesn't mean that I'm not talking to them. I'm just not engaging in that particular conversation. That's fine with me. Maybe some things trend that way, just socially, or But I don't think that's it doesn't speak to the character of the individual that's engaged in that conversation. I think it just speaks to the way that social norms are enacted upon, right? And I think it has to tend to do with the fact more that historically men have had to work together, especially in laborious jobs, right? You go out there and you're swinging a hammer or something, hypothetically, and you don't want to get into it with the dude next to you over politics, when you're out there busting your ass all day, trying to make a living, right? Yeah. And so you two, and then the 2 men will come home, talk shit about each other at the dinner table, right? Because they have opposing political views or whatever. They probably talked about it on their lunch break or something. And then it's the women who get together and gossip later. It's just did you hear about so-and-so's husband, right? And then gossip spreads that way. But that's just because of the way Western society's been historically,
Yeah. But like you say, it's different. I've been in rooms with Jill, and a woman will talk to him, ask him a question, and he just won't kind of respond. It's
it's kind of like the way Irenic does me now. He just does not acknowledge the fact that somebody's speaking.
Yeah.
And then, but at one, that's great because Basement Dweller got it. At one point, Olive's just screaming at him, and he's like, "Hey, Praise, can you tell Olive? Did you let Olive know what's up? Did you tell her? Can you talk to your girl?"
Going to the third person. Yeah, that's even worse. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Jill do that as well, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah, I've seen him do it a couple times. I know the first time when somebody said it to me I think it was in my own, live chat. I was like, no, really? And then I asked him, all right. And he started explaining it. I was like, oh, that's bogus. And then we just rolled over it in conversation. Like I didn't, like take it any further than that, that's like absurd to me. But, I think, the fact that he will disengage from the conversation is better than, because I haven't seen him do something as blatant as to like speak over a woman who's already involved in the conversation. Like if you do that, I would bitch you from the room. You know what I mean? Like, but he will just go silent. So,
yeah.
But I mean, it's still it's like a covert disrespect,
Yeah.
Talk says I usually have my wife talk to people unless I need to.
Ow.
We know who's wearing the pants there, right? My boss was like that guy. Well, he's a friend of mine, but I worked for him for a while, and like anything that was like work related or whatever, like he would text me, but if we had like a disagreement, he would have his girlfriend call me.
Wow.
And we resolve it, and then we just go back into work, and we just not have not talk about it. It just
Yeah.
It's really fascinating because he's like a very macho type of guy. But if we had a conflict, he'd have his girlfriend come talk to me. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's bad.
Because it's the same type of dude. Like, I mean, he'd always say like, "Oh, I don't want to fight you, bro. I don't want to fight you." And you anytime like one of those situations would arise, not with me, but with somebody else, and I'd be there, he'd be like, "You're gonna have to hold me back. Stop! I'm gonna beat this guy down." You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop you, like twice my size, but yeah, I'm gonna stop you and hold you back. So what's gonna happen today? I never actually saw him physically accost anybody, but it was like a frequent occurrence. I'm gonna beat this guy up.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, there's a difference between having an argument and having a physical fight. Do you know what I mean? You should be able to do one without the other. Yeah.
You talk about like over nothing burgers. I mean, I understand this frustration because being in the music, sphere or whatever. It's like if you go into a studio and you expect to get some results and you feel like somebody's wasting your time, you spend enough time there, like, yeah, you just have to like throw your shit down and walk away, or yeah, you're probably gonna get into it with those people, right? But in this instance, like, dude, it's your studio. You could just kick this fucking guy out of the room, just be like, no, you're wasting my time. I don't want you here. Leave. Like, but instead he's appealing to the room. He's like, is it just me? This guy's fucking with me, right? Like, he would like, I love it, but just to see the behavior, the mood of somebody change over, like, we've been like trying to record the same track for 45 minutes, and it is extremely frustrating. But yeah, that's the type of shit I'm talking about.
Yeah, like a Lars Ulrich kind of person, the drummer from Metallica. Just a massive dick, basically.
Well, it's not like something you're getting paid for. Like if we were, like had like a deadline, okay, we're getting paid for this, I could understand it. But being that, we're musicians as a hobby, more or less. It's like, okay, dude, like you don't like the guy, you don't want him here, you don't have to look at me, just handle your business right now. But it's this drama show. It's always a display. It's always a display with these people because it's not like, if they were going to do it, if they were actually going to go off, they just go off, right? They would make the whole presentation. Somebody help me. You know what I mean? Like that is like legitimately a cry for, right? But it's from somebody who's trying to like
act aggressively, act dominant in the situation. It's still like, you know, assert your dominance while saying, come on, guys, back me up.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's asserting your dominance without actually getting into a fight. It's like, hold me back. Yeah, that means you don't want to actually have a fight, you know?
I mean, I agree. You know, it's cool to have somebody who can help you like that. You know, my ex, I used to make a lot of business arrangements as far as music gigs and stuff like that. But like, you know, she would help me book shows and whatnot, doing things behind the scenes more or less. But when it came to like musicians in the studio, it's like, okay, you can record, you could like be present, but anytime that she started to have like an opinion as far as the formula, the way that the process was going, it was like, okay, you need to step back, right? Like, this is where I'm drawing the line right here. Like, if you're not playing an instrument, you have no say in the process of like formulating a set or writing a song. You know, that's that. So, but in other situations, like outside of that, like social situations, she got me in so much shit. Like all the time, I'd be like, don't fucking engage with that person. Just leave it alone. And then she would engage with the person, and then I would end up in an actual altercation over it, right? Because she never listened to me. She never listened to me say, do not mess with that person. And see, I can't look at it like I wasn't trying to be a control freak. Like, I really wanted her to, you know, like be her own person, be independent. You know, you end up like these stupid situations where some guy's like stealing copper piping out of the house, and he's squatting there. And you know, now I'm in the situation where it's like I have to go and deal with this person, right? That I told you not to let in the first place. Like,
yeah.
So listen to me, you would be in this fucking predicament.
Yeah, she get you into the shit, and then you have to deal with it. Yeah, that's quite bad. I will go say.
Good morning, Will.
And Tog says, I'm almost inseparable with my wife, my best bud, but don't tell her I said that. Too late, Tog. It's on the internet now.
Display that one on full screen.
Yeah, put it on. Yeah, get him into some shit.
Would you ever have your wife on a stream, Tog? That's my, you know, that's. I've heard some streamers that do like the husband and wife stream. Or I was watching Wilson's thing earlier. His wife was live streaming and reviewing his debate while he was live. I thought that was cool. You know, like.
Yeah. I think I've seen Tog's wife. Oh, no, this is going bad. I've seen parts of her. Do you know what I mean? Just when he's on his phone, like she'd be getting into the car or something. Sorry, Tog, I didn't mean it like that.
Well, yeah, she doesn't have to be on video, but I mean, you know, would you be okay with? I guess, you know, reverse the question: would you be okay with other men talking to your wife on a panel? So if you're not okay with talking to, I don't know, just, you know, putting it out there.
Yeah.
Had to deal with so much weird shit, like in relationships like that. I mean, just, I don't even like want to get into like all the specifics. It's just like the bizarre shit that people think should just be passable when you're in like a monogamous relationship for a year or more, and then you come to find out things about, you know, like that person, like, you know, so I can't even give like a specific example. Well, I can, but, you know, I think it'd be, you know, let's say, you know, you were living with, you know, this person, and, you know, they're like stepbrother, this woman, and, you know, come to find out, you know, like a year later that she had slept with that person, her stepbrother.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is just like, why are you freaking out? Why is this an issue? I don't.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I mean,
conversation.
some people. I mean, you know,
Yeah, that's a
I mean, this
conversation.
shit really happens in real life, man.
Wow. Fucking hell. And Tog says, no, she would not want to be inside these atmosphere. She's not as religious as me. She thinks everyone here is a fucking idiot. Can't tell you that. I will.
Hey, gentlemen.
Good to see you, sir.
And how are you, Kevin?
I can't complain. I would, but I can't.
Are those your real nipples in that picture?
I was going to ask that. Is that you?
I glued them on prior to the performance. So.
Well, that's what I thought, because they look a little too like they're more excited to be there than you are.
No, he's going through customs. He's just smuggling peanuts.
It was cold that day.
Yeah.
His nipples are just working their way through the fabric of his shirt there, just shredding one thread at a time.
Actually, I will say that is a cold bar, and the stage is like directly next to the front door. So like just to my left is the actual front door, and they leave it open the whole time. So like it's pretty chilly in there.
Is that a telly with two humbuckers on it? What is that?
No, that's my Les Paul semi hollow.
I can't see enough of the. Oh, that's right, the one you were telling me about. I can't see enough of the picture. I can only see that top switch. It looked like a Fusion telly to me. And how are you, Wildheart? How are your nipples today, buddy?
Nearly. Yeah, nearly shut. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're fine, but
Fine.
quite soft actually.
Wildheart can Tog sniff them? He likes to sniff men's chests.
Does he?
Yeah, ask him. Watch this. Tog, do you like to sniff men's chests in the search for dads? He'll own up to it. He knows.
Just give him a minute.
Are you my dad? Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about.
And what's happened to the picture? The raccoon seems to have gone all demonic and kind of crazy.
Oh, that's what I had earlier in praises for the brief minute or two I was in there, and then I heard Charles continuing to talk, and I was like, "Oh, it's going to be one of those."
There we go. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I can't stand that guy. Every time he tries to rap, I think he sets the music world back about 10 or 20 years. He needs to stop. Yeah. Christian rap ought to be outlawed. And I'm a free speech advocate. I'm just saying for public safety.
I will go further than that. I think all rap, but especially Christian rap. Yeah. Not a fan.
So, what happened with you in there? How did that go?
They were talking about pre-trib, post-trib. You know, I just wanted to kind of grab hold of them, shake them, and you know, you're talking bullshit about bullshit. It's, you know what I mean? But I didn't. I just sat there quietly, and eyes closed up. Do you know what I mean?
Did you talk to Standing for Truth, STF?
Oh
Donnie?
yeah. He actually convinced me. Not convinced me of something, but he was saying about Jesus coming a second time, which I held back the laughter, obviously. He said it must be the second time because he's talking about the future. So he's already, the first resurrection was when he died, and it must be, he actually persuaded me that.
Yeah, but we've been waiting for over 2,000 years for that event, and we didn't even get a postcard saying I'm running late. Nothing. I mean, just not even a phone call.
Inconsiderate prick, you know. Jesus.
He's just an alpha, right? He's like, I don't answer to you bitches.
lazy as
There'll
well.
be like a, some type of special announcement, like a bulletin written in the clouds.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when you coming back, you Lord? When I'm fucking ready, mind your business.
Yeah. BRB, just in the clouds. BRB.
Right. Like, if that can happen during like every thunderstorm, just take a moment to, pencil in on that big etch a sketch in the sky. Be there soon. Or just give us an idea. Just show us some possible dates. Throw up 3 possible dates, and over the next few years we'll have more like closer prophecies to wait for. Something. But like, it just fucking ends in Revelation, right? We don't have anything else. And that was 2,000 years ago or so. So what is the next? We're just waiting on those same old prophecies. Yeah.
Come on, Jesus. What's
See, that's what happened. See, when he created the world, he's like, I'm going to do it in 7 days. And that was a foolish brag, I think, because that's how we ended up with Uganda. But so I think that he learned from that mistake, and he's like, I'm just going to say it's going to happen like Microsoft when we're fucking ready, and you guys are just going to wait. But trust us, it's coming, just like your paycheck. It'll be there. You can be sure of it.
yeah?
Just keep being good.
Jesus,
Be good.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh, this might sound weird. Jesus does seem to come a lot.
Pardon?
Yeah.
I missed that chapter.
Yeah, like Jesus came in me. Jesus.
Whoa.
Yeah, he does seem to come. I made a joke in the private chat. Jesus came in me 3 times, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. It didn't go down well.
Good morning, antiderivative Jill. You come at just the right time. Tog says we have religion trauma. I maybe.
Yes.
That's a thing.
He's absolutely right about that. I will admit to that. I definitely believe that's true now. Like, I wish I could have known what it was like not to think that, God was watching every time I jerked off and was mad at me. That would have been nice to get through my teenage years without having all that extra nonsensical guilt. Especially that time I went like 13 times in one day. I felt it particularly guilty that day. Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Because it was and then I was like, now I've reached a really unlucky number. I'm like, I know God's mad now.
Yeah, 13 unlucky for some.
I know you watch me, Tog, because you're my only fan subscriber at this point.
I'm starting my OnlyFans next week. I figure, why not? All the cool kids are doing it.
Wait, all I got to do is put things in my ass? I mean, I was going to do that anyway. Fuck. Yeah, sure, you can watch. I can wear a bunny. I can wear a bunny outfit too, and then I'll get me more money. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm totally in.
Yeah. Can I get on that bandwagon? Yeah. Have you got a link?
Yeah, well, you've been giving away for free so long your videos of anal penetration. I don't think anybody hasn't seen that. The Manchester Gape. That's what they call it now.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a collaboration. It'll be magical.
Oh, yes. Wait.
He's going to fuck you, is what he just basically said.
Yeah, but a threesome. Like we'll in the middle, like a spit roast. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that could work. Actually.
We just went there. Yeah, we went there.
Okay, you feel that judgment right now? You feel me judging you? Yeah,
that's
the kind of shit.
I like the mustache though.
Yeah, that's.
Hey, I got one better for you, man.
See, that's the way that judgment that you're feeling right now is how I felt every time I snuck a hand in my underoos, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, God's watching me. This is weird. Stop watching me for a minute. You know? Why you make me feel bad afterwards? This it.
But I kind of want it the other way. Like I've never believed in God. or I can never remember believing in God. So I kind of want to believe in God just once, just so I can have both sides of the, both experiences. Like,
Do you have good reason to say that there is no God?
no,
Me either.
no.
About you, Kevin? You there? I don't like that. I don't like his avatar. It just caught me off guard. That's
Sorry,
hideous.
dude, I was gonna change the
Right.
name too. No,
Yeah,
that's it's like, oh shit. No, wait. Do I have a good reason to believe there's no God? Well, he never answered me. Like when I was trying to talk to him, and see, I went through a period of time where I thought I was in direct communication with God, and it turned out I was talking to myself. I was like, okay, that's crazy, right? So you walk that one back,
Well, and see, I know exactly what you mean, but why do we assume that when we ask the God things that the God is going to speak to us? Like, where do we get the idea that that is the God? Like, what if
Because
it's a
that's
God
what
that
religious
doesn't
people
talk to
tell me.
us?
If I pray about it, God will give me answers. That's what, like most religious people I talk to, that's what they tell me.
Okay, so I'll agree with you. You can pretty much rule out Yahweh right off the rip, right? You can just be like, yeah, no, that one is logically impossible.
Yeah.
Right. And also just savage and horrendous. So yeah, you can kind of rule that one out, because that one is the one you're praying to and you get no response. And I can see what you mean. Like, there's other people that have experiences supposedly, and then there's this whole book of guys going, yeah, we talked to him. We talked to him for thousands of years. Just he'd pop in and kill a whole bunch of us and then make an announcement about a king. It's great fun. So yeah, so I can rule that out. But when we talk about a God, I wasn't specifically talking about Yahweh. I was saying, can we rule out that there is a God of some sort, or gods plural?
No, I think that's impossible.
What about you,
Like
Kevin?
to say there is no
can't
God.
disprove it, right? Like unfalsifiable. Right? Like I can't prove a thing that. Well, I can't disprove a thing that has not been proven to me. I guess is actually run.
Now, but we all just focus on Yahweh, and we never we're like, I can pretty much say that there's evidence that there's no Yahweh, right? There's just for the reasons you claim, that you can try the promises in the book and it doesn't happen that way, right? Okay, so but can we rule out? I mean, we can't. You said it's unfalsifiable, right? But like, if that's the case, what evidence would we need to say that there aren't those things? Like, what would we be looking for? Because all we seem to operate on is the image of Yahweh. Like, if a God can only be this thing that the Christians have described, right?
Yeah.
But what if the God is more like Loki?
Yeah, going with Yahweh first. The Christians describe him as all powerful. So if he doesn't want to be found, that's where the unfalsifiable thing comes in.
We've already ruled out Yahweh.
Yeah. But
I think in that case you would have to come up with like a different definition for God, right? Like,
yes,
and it's not like we only have one presented to us. Like, we have one that's very loud and in our faces, right, as Yahweh. But there are other examples we could be looking at and examining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, what if there was a God like on a planet like a million miles away, just hiding under a rock, and we don't even, there's not even a name for him. We don't know about it.
We don't care about him.
But there's no possible way of disproving that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like leprechauns or furries or unicorns. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to disprove.
Right. And see, but whenever we hear like challenges about gods and stuff like that, we only tend to think about the Christian God. Like, that is the one that has been like Trusty said, it's in your face everywhere you go all the time. God bless you. Here's Jehovah. Here's Yahweh. We got churches on every street corner. It's Western culture.
Yeah.
Right. So that's part of our cultural belief in what a God should be, even if we can't justify why we think that it needs to be that, like, have those characteristics. I could imagine a clumsy, like a god who occasionally just drops shit and makes mistakes. Like he's a pretty smart guy, but he's just fucking shit up sometimes. Like he's like real emotional, you know? He's like, oh God, I'm afraid I'm gonna mess this up. Oh no, I spilled too much water in the ocean. Now the ice caps are melting. Fuck off. I'm gonna start over. You know, or it's not, you know, I don't know. Like if I can imagine that god, right?
Yeah, but then you get into the deist god, and that is I can't understand anyone who believes in a deity. You're literally claiming to know the unknowable. Like a god just started everything off and then just steps away, has no impact on the universe. You're literally claiming to know.
No, deists don't claim to know that there's a god. They normally tend to believe that there's a god, and that he doesn't really communicate with us. Everybody's saying they're talking to him is like making up stories, you know, or talking to themselves or talking to something else. But the actual god kind of started shit off and kept on going, like not really concerned.
Yeah,
which is really just like it's just a view of agnosticism on the point of how creation happened. Like why does everything? How does everything exist?
Yeah. It's just like I say, it's just an explanation of how everything began, and then he kind of, like I say, steps away. And
so I like the H.P. Lovecraft idea of a god that is like asleep, and we're the product. Our reality, what we think is reality, is just basically the fabric of his dreaming. And eventually he will wake up, and all of this will no longer exist. It'll pop like a bubble. Yeah,
that's what Praise believes. He thinks that reality is basically God dreaming, or God. We are all in God's mind, basically. Reality doesn't exist. It's just
that's possible.
We are God's thoughts. Basically.
That's possible.
Yeah.
But which God?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good point, because he would say Yahweh, but
could it be it's still a group of beings? Like it's not even just one dream, but be like a group of beings dreaming us.
Hell, reality could be all of us making it happen, because you know we're part of that universe, that God, like the pantheists would ever believe. You know, that we're making reality. Reality is something that we're the God forging it in our actions.
Well, I think as a matter of consciousness, that's just like a fact, right? Like reality only exists as long as we experience it.
Can energy be created or destroyed? Has that been proven false yet?
In this, I've thought about this. In this universe, that is a law of law of nature that it can't be. But when you get outside the universe, when you get outside the universe, because
or the multiverse,
Christians will say that energy can't be created or destroyed. But
wait, is that what Christians say?
Some of them do, in some of their arguments. But they fail to mention that if energy can't be created or destroyed, that also applies to God. That means God can't create energy, but they believe that God creates.
God can't. Well, I think that I can agree there's an energy, and I can agree in something being eternally there, eternally present.
Yeah.
All right. Like if they're right, and energy can't be destroyed or created, then that means that it's always been like a current or a current running through everything that is. Yeah. And I would say that that's most likely the God. And it may have intelligence. It may have intention. It may just be part of like the Fibonacci sequence, just something that naturally happens. But I don't know. There can be a naturally happens from nothing. So a natural result of this energy being present always, I don't know. But I think that we're all made up of that.
Yeah, but if energy can't be created or destroyed, like you said, that means that energy has always existed in some form, which would rule out the possibility of nothing.
Yes.
Christians say that. Yeah.
Do you guys remember there was a theologian a while back, like a Christian Scientist or something, who like posited he tried to weigh the soul leaving the body, and so he weigh these people who were like on their deathbeds before and after they passed, and he got some like very minor difference. It ended up being, I think, the fluids that the person expended when they died or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was a really shit experiment. And I know about this. Basically, he took like a dead human and weighed him before he died and weighed him after. And he took like dogs or something and weighed them because obviously dogs don't have souls. But it was just a really, it was just a really bad experiment. Basically, they were kept in different conditions. The dog was put in a freezer. The human was. It was just a really bad experiment for many, many, many reasons. Yeah. Well, they came up with a conclusion that the soul weighed like 3 pounds or something, but it was just, yeah.
Well, fortunately, we could repeat that experiment a lot of times forever, and we would not get the same result every time.
Yeah.
Souls are different depending on how much you ate that day. No, that's not.
Yeah.
Science.
How much gas? Yeah. How much gas comes out either orifice?
Right. So our understanding of the natural world changes as we discover where our methodology is flawed. Right, and that's going to happen forever too, because men are flawed. We are. We fuck up sometimes. Right, but I'm just saying. I think that whatever that energy is what we're made of. That vibration is. We're all a different piece of that, and everything else is too. All matter is what we think is matter. I'm actually starting to think that it might be just vibration of some sort of particle or ether.
So sorry, can just take a minute. Can just fuck you, Spooky.
Fuck you, Spooky.
Oh, fat. Okay.
6 pounds 3 ounces when we weighed it last.
Thinking earlier about how all types of electrical devices are grounded to the ground, except for like solar powered things in space.
Interesting.
I've actually heard
it's unfortunate for science that we have this, like, because we know we can measure electrical activity that goes on in the brain, right? And then when people die, it like shuts off, but you have no way of accounting for where that electrical energy goes. You have no way of doing that.
That's true. But we do know that it ceases. But we don't believe that it can be destroyed or created, right? Do we think that it can be created?
No, energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can change form. E equals mc squared. It can change into mass.
So are we like as babies or fetuses just have like a little battery that's predetermined, or maybe not predetermined, but it's got so much charge and we're just going to keep going until we're out of energy, and then that's the last thing, the last kicks. The alternator goes bad, maybe.
Yeah, then we turn into mass, just mass, no energy, and like decompose.
Yeah.
I think so.
But there should be an electrical discharge then, if there's energy running through, and because I said discharge.
Discharge, yeah.
That's what Manchester monkey. Anyway. No offense to monkeys, Kevin. But, it seems like with what Kevin's saying, like there's energy and then you die and there's none. There would be a discharge of some form, and that would probably discharge into the ground, right? Because you're grounded, as Todd was pointing out in a weird way. So when you die, that last bit of energy would travel. We could measure that, couldn't we? If you knew somebody was about to kick it. I mean, certainly don't do it in an electric chair experiment, because you're going to get a lot more than you some false readings.
I think they've tried.
No, the energy would just stop. I mean, you could measure it stopping, but the energy doesn't go anywhere. It just changes into mass.
Well, where is it stored while the person's alive? Where is it
brain.
generated from? Is it generated from the sun?
Yes. It's in the brain, but without the sun, it wouldn't exist. Yeah, because we get all our energy.
The electricity is generated in the brain.
Yeah.
And it's powered by our nutritional intake and our body's mechanics.
Yeah.
And then one day it stops running and the brain shuts down because it's not. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the brain is not the
They
alternator.
say that like any type of natural death is the failure function of usually it's a particular organ. You can attribute it to either the heart stops or whatever it be. Like the brain, unless you have like some kind of trauma or like the brain itself doesn't power the body down. It's some other organ in the body that stops functioning. That's why they say that in theory, we could live forever if you could just continue to replace our organs artificially.
Yeah.
Snap-on tools.
Yeah, it's basically the heart. Like every death is caused by the heart stopping beating. That I mean, I know there are different ways to die, but basically it all comes down to when your heart stops, then you're dead.
Yeah. Or if your liver shuts down when you get toxic because you can't cleanse your.
Yeah.
Really, there's so many parts that have to be functioning all at the same time for you to remain alive. Your lungs.
Yeah. Yeah, but that it kind of all goes like if your liver stopped functioning, it will be ultimately your heart that stopped. You know, no matter how you died, it would ultimately be your heart stopping that means that you're dead. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm so tore up. I don't even know how we got on this topic. I'm totally lost now.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about the energy in the universe and the leaving the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if that's like the source of all things, I guess I would say it would be energy, right? Like that's the essence of the Big Bang Theory is that like some singular point in space was just all matter condensed into like this like tiny ball of energy that explodes or something like that.
Yeah.
And anti-derivative Jill says I just had trauma all over my body. I was in a car accident and felt pain in my stomach, heart, brain, and muscles. I'm very sorry to hear that you were in that car accident. Hope you're doing better.
Yeah, it's kind of like a holistic machine. You know, all the parts have to be functioning. For you to have optimal health, and then with damage to every one of those parts, I mean, I can imagine feeling pretty rough.
But you can survive a lot of damage. Look, we have two of a lot of our parts. We have, we can survive with one lung, one kidney. You know what I mean? Like you can shut down a lot of the major functions and survive.
We've evolved spares.
Yeah. Yeah, like in a hospital, when you put on life support, like basically all your organs can be not working, but so long as they keep your heart beating, with a
not all your organs, but like you can get by without all of them. Some of them have still got to keep going. Yeah.
And nice to meet you, anti-derivative Jill. I'm just trying to think. Anti-derivative Jill.
Anti-derivative Jill does streams as well, doing Star Trek reviews and other sci-fi stuff. Cool stuff over there.
Cool. Yeah. I'm guessing she doesn't know about Jill. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure if she's on this channel or not. I have had to differentiate in the past that Jill is not Jill. So.
And why are you assuming it's gender?
She's got a picture.
Me? Why am I assuming it's gender? No,
Wild Heart is.
Oh, she's got a picture.
Yeah, well, we have pictures too, but that's not my mustache. And I don't think that Kevin has aged so poorly for the last couple of weeks.
You might be surprised.
And besides, just because you see the picture doesn't mean that that is the pronouns that
That's true.
prefers.
Yeah. Yeah.
He might like. I mean, they might like different, or she, or whatever it is, might prefer some different.
Is there a pronoun? Is there a pronoun for like Spock, like Vulcans?
Spock is a male Vulcan. Spock identifies as a male, I believe, openly.
Yeah.
Openly. What do you think he's like behind closed doors, Kevin?
He might be a closeted, something or other.
I think he's a little too logical for that.
Yeah, I don't think the Vulcans attach themselves too much to gender ideologies, right?
They probably don't spend a lot of time worrying about it.
Oh, what is your favorite Star Trek character? Mine's Data. I like the gold skin. Do you know what I mean? I just find that very attractive. That's
Well, what are you talking about? What are you saying? I didn't understand the words you said.
I'm just saying that I like, Data from Star Trek.
Oh, Data, the android.
The gold skin, yeah. I just find that.
Okay.
very
Gold
attractive.
skin, not foreskin. Okay.
Yeah. Although I'm sure he has a gorgeous. gold sword.
No.
Sorry.
I liked Q. You remember the god Q in Star Trek?
Oh yeah.
He would just pop up sometimes and just give everybody a hard time for no reason. I could relate to that.
You remember the episode where Q loses his powers and he's stuck on the Enterprise?
I missed that one, or I don't remember it. But I would hate to see it because I wouldn't enjoy that.
Oh, that was a great episode. Yeah, I'm fairly certain it's on.
Was he humbled?
He was distraught. It was amazing. And then of course at the end, he exits nonchalantly as a deity would.
I don't know if I want to see that. I don't know if my heart could take it. It didn't matter what was going on. I was always rooting for Q. Just from the very first, I was like, this dude's awesome. He's very godlike. Do you have android fantasies, Wildheart, about gold skin dudes with great foreskins?
Only about once a week. I'm trying to cut down. I've cut it down to once a week. Yeah.
Found that taking up smoking helps.
Yeah, it used to be a lot more than that. Yeah, I've been trying to wean myself off it.
Yeah, been watching a lot of break dancers.
Alien fantasies, but I mean,
Yeah, I just don't know if I feel like trying to learn how to please an alien. You know what I'm saying? Like Captain Kirk, he really did go where no men had gone before. Like he was in a bunch of alien vagina. I mean, and like I don't even know where their holes are, so I don't know if
we humans, we're kind of designed to figure that out. I mean, it's just, we figured out intercourse with everything else on the planet. So
yeah, we'll figure out a way to fuck a trash bag if you let us. Oh, that feels weird. I like it. Get jizz. That's just guys. Hey, look at that tomato. I bet that's squishy. Show him, Wildheart.
Right there.
Clitoris is as well.
You want to show us an OnlyFans clip?
An alien. You would have to find the hole, then find the bit.
No.
Yeah.
We already have alien. We already have alien clitorises here. those trans
What?
folk.
Transvoker aliens.
Yeah, like trans vaginas. Those are alien to the planet as up until recently.
Okay.
No, it's just it's just a minor alteration of the pre-existing equipment.
Well, it's alien to me.
Have you seen one?
Unfortunately, now I have. Not up close, thank God.
Why?
No.
What was wrong with them?
They got little tiny penis heads on them.
That was a strap on. Well,
That sounds
that
like was that fully transitioned male to female, or was this?
There's no such thing as a full, but I know what you mean. Like it's somebody who had bottom surgery. There's a guy that had a bottom surgery that was very proud. I guess he thought they did a good job.
Was his name Irenic by any chance?
No, he was born a pussy.
Yeah.
Irenic's been a vagina with ears since long before I met him. His family doesn't even like him.
I mean, not to. I've seen a lot of good, porn. Well, so I mean, I haven't actually, again, not physically myself in the flesh seen a trans person with bottom surgery, but I have seen it in porn, and I've seen a lot of really good jobs where you would not be able to tell the difference. So I don't know, maybe the one you saw. Was
Well,
really
you
bad.
understand.
So can porn? What is it? I'm not sure what the porn. What is porn?
Pornography. Like,
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, look at this fucker pretending he doesn't have a subscription to Pornhub.
I can actually. No. Yeah, my internet provider. You have to like sign up to say you're over 18 or something.
I'm guessing you jack off 3 times as often as you shower.
Yeah, no, they've yeah, I can't get porn on my computer.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you can wank to normal things like that. Like in the old days, just the bathing suit catalog. You could just wank to that if you want to. There's a lot of dudes in Speedos for you in Europe, right? So no,
Yeah,
but like
I
I was going to say about what Kevin said, if I could comment on what Kevin was actually talking about for a second. Yeah, I'm sure that if you watch a lot of prawn and you see those, it's just like everything else you're seeing. You're seeing the best of the best of surgeries and augmentations and dick pumping or whatever they do there. These are not your average people that you're going to run into. These people may have gotten the kind of surgery they're like proud of, but not everybody gets this, has the same effect, like you said, like the one I saw. So maybe what you're seeing in the porn is the best you can hope for.
all right. Well, I mean, so let's say, best case scenario, if I can't tell the difference between one or the other, what difference does it make to me? Like, if I'm selecting a mate.
No, it doesn't. It shouldn't matter. I mean, if it's what you like, I mean, I don't think that they should need to have to cut off anything if they're your mate, and right, because that's basically just a maintained wound. Like, I mean, if you love the person, they shouldn't have to cut off anything. I mean, if they just want to pretend to be a woman, then just let them pretend to be a woman if you love them. Right? You don't have to have them cut off. Just take them with the penis and all.
But that gets into the argument about whether they're pretending to be a woman or whether they are actually a woman.
Oh, no, that's not an argument. No, that's not an argument.
Okay.
There's no argument. See, in the term trans, you're acknowledging that you are in the process of becoming something that you previously weren't.
Yeah.
No, I think you're transitioning form from the thing you were to the thing that you're becoming.
Right. So that you weren't born that thing. You're becoming something that you're not currently, or that you weren't.
In a biological sense.
Right,
Yeah.
because mental doesn't really matter because you can believe that you're becoming a butterfly and that may never come to fruition. You'll always be a trans butterfly because you'll never actually achieve the goal of being a biological butterfly.
Or an attack helicopter. As a case, maybe.
Well, I
As you
disagree.
like.
If you can perform all the functions of a butterfly, then you are a butterfly. It doesn't matter if you start out as a caterpillar or a cockroach.
Are you assuming that men can at some point attain the ability to perform all of the functions of a female?
Yeah, I don't think it's scientifically impossible. I mean, the only logical next step is to be able to conceive and carry a child.
I mean,
Right.
but what is hypothetically scientifically impossible?
No, I said it's not impossible. Like
No. I listen to what I'm asking you. I said, what is hypothetically scientifically impossible? And the answer is nothing. Hypothetically, science can do everything.
Okay, true. So, but I mean, I would say logically plausible. Like we're leaning in that direction.
Okay. Well, if they do come up with a way that a person can switch their biological sex, then it should be something that doesn't require chemicals or surgeries because it should be a natural thing that people are supposed to be able to do.
Well, now you're talking about an ideal world. In an ideal world, you would be able to identify a trans child before they were born and somehow modify them in gestation so that they would come out the right gender, right? But that's like way
Right.
down the rabbit hole.
Right. So a guy is trying to become a woman. So they take hormones and it suppresses their hair growth and changes their voice and all that stuff for a while. But let's just say that for some reason they're on a plane, and the plane goes down in the Caribbean and they wash up on an island and it's just them. A couple of weeks, they're not going to look anything like a woman anymore. They're going to start looking a whole lot like a fucking dude with that beard and that chest hair. And eventually they're going to have to deal with the fact that it was all artificial. It was something that was constructed to suit their mental leanings rather than represent biological fact.
Well, I mean, I just have to say, I'm sure you probably know this, but I mean, that's true of a lot of women in their 30s and 40s too, right? I mean, it's like if you're just judging by something like facial hair, I mean, yeah, typically women tend to have less, but a lot of women do begin to have facial hair as they approach menopause and things like that. Like, so that's all a matter of just upkeep and aesthetics.
Well, then let's get into the meat of it, Kevin. What does it take in your eyes to qualify someone as a woman? What is a woman?
Well, I think, I think gender is a social construct. I think when you said, is it something? It's something that occurs in the mind. My perception of a woman could be, different from what the biological sex implies. So
can Wildheart be a woman?
I think Wildheart could be a woman.
If he said right now to you, he said, Kevin, I've determined that I'm a woman. You could look at him and say, I think I can see it.
I mean, right now I would say that's an interesting thought, and I would try to see where we're going with that. No, I don't think it would be something that would onset like spontaneously like that.
So
like
what's keeping him from being a woman?
Have symptoms of gender dysphoria long before they ever realize that they're trans.
Okay, but what's keeping him from being a woman right now if he speed runs through all those steps? If he just decides he's been denying it all along.
The process of a transition. It would be a mental and then a physical transition to womanhood.
Well, wait. No, I'm saying if he's already said, I am a woman, it doesn't mean that he's planning on doing anything different. If he's just discovered the reality is, I'm a woman. Isn't that enough? Why does he need to take further steps? If he's already a woman, why does he need to change anything?
Yeah,
well,
I get what you're saying.
That would just be definitionally incompatible. He would either have to redefine woman or make some more precise definition of what he's talking about. Just saying I am
Why
a
is that a
woman.
problem?
Well,
we don't need to redefine woman. We need to actually define woman.
I mean, we mean things by words. A woman has feminine characteristics, has feminine.
Adult biological female. Let's just 3 words to fill out that definition. Adult biological female equals woman.
No, I mean no, and like,
So you want to redefine it?
You would argue that there's no way that Wildheart can ever become a biological female. That's impossible.
Really? That's what I agree. I would agree with that. So it doesn't matter if he thinks that. It's just not possible for him to be that thing.
But I might disagree on equating a biological female with a woman in terms of what we're talking about.
Women might disagree with being associated with trans women as though they're the same thing when it's demonstrable that they're not.
Yeah, TERFs. Yeah, I mean, I know.
Calling them a derogatory name is no substitute for like an argument against what they're saying.
That's what they assign themselves. The acronym Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. It's their acronym. They designed it. It's not derogatory.
I thought you were calling all women that object to that, not just the feminists, because most women object to men like just what is it called, appropriating the term woman when they have no idea what it would be like to be a woman biologically anyway. They have no point of reference to say that they could possibly feel like a woman because they've never been that thing. Which is
it's interesting because they're so attached to the word woman, right? But their cause is not called womanism; it's called feminism, right?
But we're not really talking about them as much as we're talking about. But we're talking about women as a whole, and not just a group of feminists, because they don't really matter anyway. They're the reason everything's fucked up. So it doesn't matter what Wildheart calls himself. Wildheart is Wildheart. That's the facts are that he's a biological male, and he can have surgeries and he can take things to change his appearance.
Hold on, because it does matter. Like in this space and in other spaces, it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Wildheart wants to be called Wildheart, I respect that decision. If Wildheart changes that position at some point, I'm going to say, what made you change that position? See, okay, does my friend here have a rational explanation for why they
Wait a minute.
want to be called?
Who are you to judge? Who are you to judge his reasoning?
Well, I'm going to try to find out whether or not it's you. That's my only, I mean, I could respect it, without knowing if it's sound or valid, but I'm going to try to find out, hey, this person, I know this person. Why are they changing this aspect of themselves? Go ahead, Walter.
Yeah, that comes down to the difference between gender and sex. I could never be physically a woman, but what Ape is saying is that gender is a social construct that is. So if I thought I was a woman, if I thought I was born a woman, I could be considered a woman. I would never be physically a woman.
We could call you that, but you would in reality still be a hyper effeminate male.
Yeah, physically, I will still be a male.
What else are we talking about? Like we just said, you could
gender.
That's a made up construct.
That's what I'm saying. So what would stop me being a female gender if it's a made up construct?
Well, you can call yourself a Tonka truck.
That's just a matter of your genetic makeup is the thing that differentiates. I know you're asking.
Hey, Richard, it's good to see you, man. There's no way to redefine reality, though. I mean, we can redefine our terms and we can pretend that there's a difference or a change in the reality, but that doesn't change the reality. It just changed how we're treating the situation. And I don't know that there's an advantage to it. Go ahead.
But I'm saying if you recognize the difference between gender and sex, I could never be physically a woman. Well, but if you agree that gender is a made up social construct, what would stop me from thinking I'm a female? And
that's the really interesting part.
Yeah.
That's the really interesting part is if it is true And by the way, I'm not emotional about these things, even though I've got people in my life, but they do what they want to do. If it is true that it's just a mental construct, that what woman is, not biological female, but what woman is just a construct, then there's no need to change anything physical because it's mental. And you, as you presently look, and the way that you hold yourself, all of those things, Wildheart, if you thought that you are a woman at that point, there's no need to change anything. You're a woman because it's just a mental construct.
Yeah.
So I don't see why. So I don't see why it would be necessary if we were truly free in our thinking, and if we were truly consistent, that someone trans says, okay, I was born biological male, but my femininity, my femaleness is only a construct, and since I, in my mind, feel that I am a female, I am just a there's nothing to change. And by the way, I don't know what it means to feel like a man, and I don't know what it means to feel like a woman. I've got nothing to compare those two things with because I've not been both. And people tell me that they feel like a man, and I don't know what that means. And I was born male and identify as a man, but I still don't know what the hell that means.
I mean, I think I could probably clarify a little bit there because I feel more masculine, more like a man in the presence of a feminine woman, right? Like if we are present with each other and they are addressing me in a way that corresponds to the expectation that I have of how I should be treated by a woman, that makes me feel masculine, right? So this is all correspondence that's occurring within an interaction. So
it sounds like you could also say instead that there's just something about that person that makes you feel good about yourself. Why is it necessarily masculine that they make you feel? I don't understand that.
No, it's not just good. I mean, it's not just the boost of confidence. It's also a sense of a motivator. There's a motivator behind that. And
no, I get that.
I think that's where it's like, okay, so there's a differentiation to say, okay, I need to be with a biological female to procreate, and that's my function. Then okay, that's what I would need to do, right? But if I want to be with a woman for the sake, the purposes of companionship, to have a functional relationship, right? Then that person may or may not have been biologically female. That really doesn't enter into the conversation if the purpose is for companionship as opposed to procreation, right? Like,
I don't know that it's right. I have to think about what you just said.
Well,
And your audios, I don't know if you know or not. It's like buzzing when
That's Kevin.
Kevin, yeah. I call him man.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. So just pointing it out. I always like when people tell me that my audio is bad, then I can toss it out.
Well, I can accept Richard's correction there. I do consider that I think like a man and feel like a man. And that's actually something I'm saying in ignorance, because I can only think like Will and behave like Will. And I only know how Will feels about things. So I think that my behavior, I identify as a man.
That's what I mean. Yeah, and we like I feel like a man. So Richard,
all the evidence suggests I'm male.
Yeah.
And I feel like I behave in a masculine way, so I would say that I am a man.
Yeah. So Richard,
you say that you're a man because you were born with a penis.
You didn't hear all that other shit I just said?
No, I did, but it didn't, because you feel in a masculine way. You didn't really describe that other than manhood. That's
Well, in a similar way to you, when I'm around people that are weaker than I am, I want to protect them. And when I'm around people who I want to take care of, especially if I think they can't take care of themselves, I want to provide for them. And those are typically associated.
So you think masculinity? You're associating masculinity with dominance. Is that the idea that a man is dominant?
Pardon me. Where did you get dominance out of what I said?
He said
You said that the other was weaker than.
Where did you get dominance from what I said?
You have to protect them. They are weaker than
dominating them.
He said providence, not it was providence. You know, the baby can't chase down an elk. That's all there is to it. So I chase down the elk for the baby.
They can't defend themselves as well.
Women and children are two different categories of thing.
Yeah, but women are easily weaker than men biologically, physiologically. That's just
not always. That's not universally true. I mean,
but in gross generality, yeah, it's true. And on a spectrum, the strongest of women only come close to the weaker of men.
Well, not even close. Well, let's just say so let's say all of the weakest men reassigned as women. They said, okay, more than 51% of women can kick my ass. Therefore, I'm not a man, right?
No.
You don't think so?
No. Nothing about their biology changed at all.
But you just associated masculinity with physical superiority.
That's not all I said. That's just what you focused on.
He said he wanted to provide for.
It was an instinctive desire, an automatic instinctive desire to protect those that are weaker, especially women and children, which I didn't necessarily designate that, because I also will take care of weaker males, but I don't want to adopt them or anything necessarily, but I also want to help them become stronger males so that they can take care of themselves and females and children, because females and children are much more helpless in this world. Don't let our culture and our civilization fool you. Women, if you take the structure away from society, women are prey to men, and only good men can stop bad men.
Can you say hello to Christian Carpenter?
No, you can't. That's what I was going to do. Good morning, Christian.
Big love, CC.
I mean, and historically, again, you're correct. But if we have these protections in place, for women and children, etc., right? And let's say there is a male who is less physically imposing and has a tendency towards nurturing children rather than defending the homestead or the one.
He's hyper effeminate, right?
Right. And so where do you tip hyper effeminate to being a female?
He's still a male. He's a hyper effeminate male. It is within the range of male personalities. It's in the range of male personalities to be more effeminate or less effeminate, more masculine by our cultural definitions, and to have interests that align more with the general group of male interests as opposed to the minority of male interests. So he would be in a minority of males who are hyper effeminate with their, that just means they have a lot of feminine energy. They would probably seek protection by one stronger than them.
I would check the demographics there, though. I mean, I think there's a lot more hyper effeminate males who are raised by single mothers, and that's an impact on our societal structure. That's not a matter of biology, right? So this is a psychological issue. It's not a biological issue.
all of what we're talking about seems to be dealing with psychological issues because the biology hasn't changed; it's firm.
Yeah, the biology is kind of out of the question. No, the what they call the. Give me a minute.
I mean, we can test this in real life, and we're already starting to see it. And I know that Jill out there, and a derivative Jill, is like, yeah, it's wrong for them to be in sports, and I would agree. But the way to resolve this is just to open all sports classes and observe the mayhem. And eventually, these groups will want to have their own separate divisions. I mean, what's wrong? Yeah. Can you imagine if you just had a trans league? Can you imagine which crossover group would dominate?
I don't have to imagine.
Yeah,
I was kind of getting there though, because in issues like that, and this is the same. If you're in sports, if you're in a consensual romantic relationship, it's a matter of having informed, enthusiastic parties involved. So it's really not a moral issue at that point. If you have two informed, consenting adults doing an act together, then you can kind of just judge the outcome, but you can't really judge it on an ethical basis. Right, because we've already established that these people can do what they want to under this framework.
Which is why I said open up sports to all people, all sports to all people, and watch how quickly that we will divide ourselves up based on what we're compatible with competing with, and there will be no doubt.
On what basis would you allow a person to transition? Right, because you're judging by what you've been saying, right? It sounds like you would try to impede the process of transition for
only
trans
children.
People.
No, only children. I don't know where you got that I would try and stop someone from transitioning. I think that's their body. If they want to mutilate it and behave in a way that, they think is, I guess, more in line with their values, that's fine. Just don't ask me to participate in your delusion, though, because I'm not the one.
So when it comes down to like pronouns and that, well, if a man came up to you and said, "I want to be called Sarah," would you, if you knew they were a man, like a trans, would you call them by what they wanted to be called by?
I would probably just respond with, "I want someone to pay my light bill for the next year."
Okay.
I mean, there's a false equivalence there, and a lot of people make it. And it's hard to distinguish, right, between a chosen pronoun, like a preferred pronoun, as a titular thing, rather than an act of recognition, right? Like, so it's not one thing to say, okay, I would assume that the panelists are male based on their appearance. That's one thing. But what we were talking about earlier, if Wildheart, today told me he wanted to be called Will, he's changing his name to Will. Okay, now I've got, two Wills on the panel. I'm going to respect that unless I have a reason not to respect that, right? Yeah. And so what you're saying, in effect, is that you feel you have a legitimate reason not to respect somebody's preferred pronouns. In spite
what was
of
my response? Hold on.
Right?
What was my response? What was my response? When did I say any of that? All I did was issue a want that I have. Since they approach me and say, I want something, then I respond back, I want this too. That's just, hey, you're telling me you want something. This is something I want. I'm not even suggesting a quid pro quo. No one asked me for anything. They just came up and said, I have this preference. And I'd be like, why are you telling me?
But I mean, you can adopt that position. I just don't think it's going to be good for conversation, right? Like again, if Wildheart says I'm changing my name to Will, please call me Will, and I don't have any reason not to acknowledge that, right? To not take that seriously. Like that's a preference.
Right. You can take it seriously. That's your preference as well. Your preference is to treat it like that is terribly important.
I don't think it's precisely the same thing because I truly do believe that names are just a construct of a society and they're just to define a specific David there, that David right there, and surnames and all that. Okay. But but it doesn't have a mean value outside of that. It doesn't mean something else. It doesn't have a secondary value. Okay. However, when someone says I'm a woman, that has a secondary value.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I don't mind if they believe they're a woman. It's just when they're coming in there, now you're imposing on me. You're asking me to do a thing. Okay, if I've known you, if I know that if you're nice to me, I might cooperate and be polite and try to avoid a situation where I have to use a pronoun, right? Or a name that I'll give you a nickname rather than call you the thing that you want. I'll give you a warm nickname, right? And that way I don't have to play by your rules, and you don't have to worry about what I think because I'm not making it an issue, right?
But this is the same as the position on theology, because absent evidence to the contrary, why not default to that, to accommodate that request? What's unreasonable about that? You know what I mean?
Because I believe it to be a disorder of the mind, and I don't think that I should be expected to participate in someone else's delusions.
Well, you're doing that every day as long as you're, I'm just saying, interacting with other humans, but
right. But this one I'm specifically choosing to not engage in because I don't think that it's fair to actual women or actual men when women do it. I don't think it's fair. I think it's misappropriating terms that belong to a very specific thing and always have. And when you start fucking with those definitions, we don't get more clarity. We get less clarity in communication and discussion. So I'm not interested in playing those games.
Well, Kevin, you said something there that really struck me. You said absent evidence to the contrary, and that's correct. Okay. But if you were absent evidence to the contrary and you were engaging with, say, a trans man, then you had no evidence to the contrary, you would think they're a woman. You wouldn't misgender them.
So I mean, in my experiences, in my interactions with, if I see a trans man in person, I can safely generally judge that they are a trans man. If they don't vocalize
then you have
that
evidence to the opposite, then you do have evidence to the opposite, or else you wouldn't be able to make that identification.
I got an idea. I think we can solve a lot of world problems right now. What we need to do in the United States, we'll start here. We need to ban all makeup, even mimes. No fucking mimes. All makeup. And that way everybody is just what they are, including women. So that entitled I'm better than you thing goes right out the window, because most of these women won't go to Walmart without their mask. So I would just love to see a world where people aren't constantly wearing a damn mask. That would solve so many issues.
Yeah, with you on the mimes, they're just annoying.
Does that mean I have to
we don't have physical masks? Right now? If we don't have,
no, we'll make an exception for you.
Then we have, psychological masks. People are always masking. So if they're not displaying it to you in such a way, then it's just something that's hidden underneath the surface. I would rather people be more transparent about their intentions and their.
That would be good.
Yeah, but I just told you that I was being very transparent in the way that I would respond to someone who was insisting on something, showing exactly like how I want to deal with it and what my intentions are. And you're I get from you that you would prefer that I pretend with them and make them think that what they're doing makes sense. And that just seems dishonest. Like I would be hiding behind some sort of mask. And in reality, my honest response, although it might seem cruel, is that is my intention, is to tell you. And if you feel uncomfortable, then you know that I'm not the one you want to talk to. You want to talk to someone that's different than me.
Well, I'm not. I think Richard. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to speak over you if I did.
No, I'm just rude. And I think whatever I think is the most important thing, and then I want to say it. But I want to give you space, Kev. I want to be rational about that.
Yeah, no, Richard is rude. Always coming on to my part. Just talks over everyone. Oh, no, that's true.
Shut up, liberal.
See, so my position, and that I take here, and so it's not to be a accusatory towards you, Will, but I consider you a friend, reasonable person, and that I'd like to try to persuade you my way, and I aim for the most rights possible for everybody. So I want
Well,
people to have the right to express themselves in such a way, and not have to.
Okay, but I asked you a question earlier.
Unnecessary. Sorry, what?
I did ask you a question earlier that took us all around the world because I wanted to know what is a woman.
I think a woman is in this instance is relative to their counterpart, right? Woman is relative to our definition of man, and that was kind of what I was trying to say. That if I choose to mate with somebody and they have the feminine qualities, then I could say that's my woman. And
so if I want to fuck Wildheart, if I want to fuck Wildheart, then I can call him a woman, and everyone else has to also, because this is sounding like promising.
Guess it.
Well, you could go there, but it'd be a lot more convincing if you put a wig on him. You know.
Hey, look, if in his mind that's what he believes, I'm going to respect that and pound him.
Now, I have a slight problem with that, Kev, and here's why. What that says is, or what that implies is that if I'm around some kind of, I don't know, 6'5" Chad, compared to that guy, I'm small, I'm weak, I don't have a super masculine jaw, I'm kind of feminine compared to him. So that doesn't make me a woman.
No, and no, I think that's kind of what we were alluding to earlier. I mean, that depends on the preference of the individual. That's why that Chad could be your woman, but that depends on that person's preference.
So
Okay,
when we do
I just had to swallow a little vomit, but let's keep going.
So when we do an archaeological dig and we find bones, are we able to tell if the person was male and female?
Yeah, but now you've interchanged male and female with man and woman again.
I know, but and then what do we call them though when we report on what we found? We report on them as a woman.
They say male and female, I think.
We found the body of a woman that lived about such and such. I mean, it's assumed these things go together, and it culturally has been for like forever, because we know how to reproduce. We understand what it takes to reproduce. And not just because all women can't reproduce, it's generally a characteristic of that group that they can reproduce. And they have a lot of other features that designate them as female. And part of their behavior is effeminate, which we would say is womanly. So if woman has no meaning at all, we don't need to use it. Like it has referred to females. But if we're just going to take that meaning away, then we need to get rid of the word entirely. Trans woman is not a woman.
I don't think so. And I think it's as a fair compromise that trans people call themselves trans people. Like I haven't experienced in my interactions any trans people that are adverse to being called trans, whatever their preferred gender is, right?
What if I told you I was transforming into a 18-year-old?
Well, that's a completely different proposition. I might believe
I want you to call me Junior. I want you to call me Junior or Skippy. Those are my.
You're so not a Skippy.
No, I mean,
who are you to decide that for me? If I want it and I think that I'm becoming 18, you need to respect that I will soon be 18 years old, because I have determined that that's how I feel.
An 18-year-old.
Let's go another direction though. If let's say you were studying for your PhD, and maybe in a couple of years you actually, now I'm going to have to call you Dr. Freeman, right? Like, I mean, I could choose not to call you doctor. That would be extremely disrespectful, but you put in all this work. You've so why wouldn't I respect your PhD?
How many men have you fucked?
Can I just say, Will is already a PhD. He has a pretty huge doctorate.
Did you?
Doctorate,
yes.
So, and in response to the question, like fucked anally, no actual men. No, we were boys.
Well, no, that's not really. Okay, so
didn't you? I swear you just asked that question.
Yeah, I did. But what I'm saying is, I said, how many men have you fucked? And then you said boys. No, that's another term. So the answer is no men.
We were boys. Me, no, we. Or,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, you
No,
were
sorry.
boys. It doesn't
Not
change.
as an adult, as an adolescent.
Okay, it doesn't change. I get why the disclaimer. I get the disclaimer, but I'm just talking about the terms. Now, if I was to ask you, how many males have you fucked?
And I'm asking for specifics, anally, or
No.
interaction with.
Do you know the difference? It can be. It doesn't have to be an honest answer. You can just say more than two.
Okay, maybe you clarify your question. Will you say fucked or been sexually active with, or
okay? How many males have you tickled?
4 or 5? 5.
4 or
Maybe
5. So were they all men?
No,
boys?
we were all boys. Yeah,
okay, so they were all boys. And that term applied to all of them. Are they all still male? Are they all still male? The ones that are alive?
Well, as far as I know, I don't keep in contact with all these people. It's been a while.
Okay. So boys become men. Those boys become men. And they are all male, coincidentally. Do you think these things have anything in common? Or like, is it just weird that males tend to become men? Boys, young males, boys tend to become this thing we call males, adult males.
You mean that they matured and grew up? I mean, no, that's not unusual. I mean,
so the term
at least
changes.
one of them is probably in prison. So, I mean, if you want to get into specifics about it, I could like.
Wait.
I
The
think
term
at
changes
least-
from boys to men, but it still maintains male. And
Boys
is
to
it?
men.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that the common factor is it still represents male.
But if one of those person had identified as a woman, I wouldn't have disclosed the information the same way, right? Like I would be self-aware to say, oh no, that person didn't identify as male. I have never been with a trans person.
Can a little boy identify as a woman?
They could try. I think it would be preferable if they identified as a girl, right? Because you'd say, well, I'm not, like, I don't know. I guess that's a question again of maturity rather than wait.
Why is age different?
Because you're conflating the proclamation of a level of experience that is like objective to everybody, right? Like your age, for instance, right? You can't reassign your age. You could say I am mature for my age, right?
So it just comes back to gender and sex. Sex is what you're born. If you have a penis, you're a man. If you have a vagina, you're a woman. Intersex is a little bit tricky, but that's different from gender. That is like the social constructs in your head that you can just identify as a woman or you can identify as a man. But I think you're just conflating the two. Do you know what I mean?
Gender doesn't represent a real thing, then.
No, and I mean, age is a thing we use to make reference to the time somebody has had, the experience somebody has had on the earth, right? And it's not like saying, okay, so you're not a woman, you're not a female if you've never had child, right? Because obviously there are plenty of girls who are not of age who have never had child, yet they are female, right? So,
a trap,
Kev. A trap. It is. We're going down.
No, he's trapping you.
He trying to trap me.
You always do this. Richard always does this. Go ahead, Richard. Take it away.
Everything you're saying right now could be Kevin. Everything you're saying in response could be applied easily to the other argument where you are supporting Will's position. And you're doing a good job of supporting his position, by the way. Sorry for my impatience.
Well, shit on me.
No, you're not. I told you if you did it again, that you were going to have to make the whole argument. You're going to have to take it away because you've already spoiled my fun.
Sorry, you just make too much sense to me. No, I should just. You're actually being half serious. I should take it half serious, and
I want you to explain to him the points that you observed where it could be applied to the other argument. That way, it's not just you supporting me blindly.
So, Kev, you said that's fair. Kev, you said it refers back to chronology. It refers back to when they were born. It refers back to experience. All of these things are like physical attributes, and if they're physical attributes that the term is referring to, then it's physical. It's not some kind of social construct or what have you, which means by implication through that same idea set that what a woman is an adult born female. That's what a woman is.
Can a 16-year-old be an adult under the law?
In this country, in this situation right now, in New Mexico, yes, but in Washington State, no.
So in the UK as well, 16 is classed as an adult.
And any 16-year-old in the U.S. can be emancipated and become an adult legally under circumstances.
You're talking about laws.
Yeah, I'm talking about societal norms, mental constructs, parameters which we arbitrate.
That wasn't the question, though, right? You asked, is a 16? Hold on. You asked, is a 16-year-old an adult? I would need to know, are they ovulating?
No, I asked, can a 16-year-old be an adult? Not is a 16-year-old an adult.
All right. If she's ovulating.
If she is ovulating, that's not should answer my question.
But that will make like a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old an adult as well.
The point was, in the eyes of the law, society has agreed that we can emancipate a minor under the correct conditions, and that we respect their decision to be emancipated from their parentage, right? Like, the law allows for that because we agree that certain people can achieve a level of maturity and personal independence that they can be legally separated from their parents before they reach the age of consent.
So you're saying to be recognized as an adult, as a mature,
recognized as an adult, yes, acknowledged,
right, but not an adult for some reason.
An emancipated minor, for all intents and purposes, is an adult.
You're talking about just laws and legal terms that vary state by state. I asked as far as whether someone's a woman. For a male, we become an adult when we're able to reproduce, right? Technically, we can do the things that adults do.
No, that also varies by law and state by state in the U.S. I mean, unfortunately,
I'm talking about biologically as a species.
Well, now you're talking about biologically, but I was talking about as a matter of law and the way we define things.
So is a tadpole an adult frog?
So even if a child got divorced from their parents, they would still need a guardian until the legal age in that country or state.
That's federal. We can emancipate on the federal level. I mean, it does vary state by state, but on the federal level, you can appeal up to whatever the highest court is to be emancipated as a minor at the age of 15 or 16 and become legally acknowledged as an adult citizen.
Hold on, Kev, just for a second, okay? Because what you're implying is that as far as I'm concerned, because adult is that's not something that's exclusive to law, that on someone's 16th birthday or 15 in some states, that biologically on their 15th or 16th birthday, whatever the law is, they are an adult, and their biology hasn't changed that much overnight. If they were a child yesterday, they're a child the next day. So you're talking about what laws recognize as opposed to an actual definition of what constitutes an adult of some species.
I'm talking about what we as a society, legally or otherwise, acknowledge as a transition from one state into another personhood.
You're just talking about what laws recognize.
Well, so are you. I mean, this whole conversation about whether or not, children should be able to receive like gender, like hormone therapy, like at what age? Well,
Slavery. There was a time in our country where blacks weren't recognized as actual human beings, and that was legally in the definition. They weren't humans. They didn't have the rights that actual humans or Caucasians or whatever had. So just because it was the law and they'd agreed upon it did not make it true in fact, as they are still and have always been humans just like the rest of us, just a part of our species. So these are artificial terms that we imply arbitrarily when it serves our purposes. What I asked was a biological, or tried to answer with a biological definition of what an adult is amongst species of mammals.
So, and I agree, like if you were to use that criteria, then people are adults as soon as they can procreate. So that could be, a girl as young as, 10, 11, right? Like whenever she starts her menses.
Let's say safely procreate.
Yeah, I think the youngest person to give birth was like 6 years old or something.
But the problem is if a female gets pregnant too soon in her body, hips are not wide enough, et cetera,
yeah,
chances are she'll never reproduce again, and there's a good chance it's going to kill her.
Yeah. So
okay, so that's not going to result in like procreation in the truest sense that a family will continue. It's not going to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
If you were on an island, I love island references, as you've noticed, but it helps people isolate themselves from cultural norms or whatever. If you're on an island and you're trying to survive and you're struggling for sustenance, and you find 2 chickens, is it important to you what their biological functions are, whether they're male and female, to your sustaining your own life and calories? Or should we just wait on the chickens to decide how they want to be treated, whether they want to be treated like they lay eggs or not?
So
it only matters to me if I decide I want to fuck them,
Aren't all chickens female though? Otherwise they're just cocks. Cockles. All chickens are female.
It matters if you're on an island with 2 chickens. Hold on. How did this?
Do you not get where I'm going?
No. You're gonna have to elaborate.
All right. You need sustenance. You're on an island somewhere. You need food. Okay. And you want to be able to sustain your food because you don't know how long it's going to be. If there's 2 chickens on the island, you need to decide what the best use is for sustaining calories, right? So best case scenario, you have a reproducing pair, which would consist, as far as we understand, male and female. If it's 2 males, you don't wait around for eggs. You don't wait around because it's not coming. They're only good for one thing, which is to eat. They're a temporary thing, right? They have one purpose as far as you're concerned. But if it's a male and a female, you can breed them. If it's 2 females, you keep them alive and feed them. They lay eggs. Their biological function, it determines what they are and what they are to us. And we known for a long time how important people's biology is, and whether something's adult and if it's a chick and a rooster, that's not gonna work. Baby chick, they're not adults. They're not ready to breed. So we have an idea when it's an adult. You like farmyard.
Well, can we please agree to use the term cock from now on rather than rooster
instead of rooster?
Yes, better term. Okay, but we're speaking now like in this purely utilitarian kind of.
Yes.
If we exist in a vacuum and our only purpose is to sustain ourselves, what is the function of this thing? Okay, but
Yes.
that's not the case, right? We're eliminating all of the very real human element around us, right? So you're talking about your interactions with other people and a hypothetical circumstance where my life might be enriched by this potential interaction with this this beautiful trans woman. Maybe I could have a lasting relationship.
Why do you keep going back to that? I haven't said anything like that. I have no interest in stopping you from fucking whoever you want. And if they've cut some shit off and you like that, that's great. If they kept it, I don't care. I'm just saying they don't get to tell me to call them, and you don't get to tell me, I don't care how much you love them, to call them something that I think is incorrect. Not even for your feelings.
Well, because if you misgender my woman, we can't be friends anymore.
I understand.
I gotta choose pussy at that point, Like that's
I
my
understand. It's an acceptable risk.
Yeah. I know that.
Good night, Jill. Thanks for coming by.
Holes over balls, basically.
And so I just, I want to extend as charitably as possible the most freedom for everyone. And so if this is a way that we alleviate suffering for people in real time, then I would rather play with the delusion, just like I'd rather not deconvert believers who are going to absolutely lose their shit if they figure out that their Yahweh hypothesis is really fucking out there. Right?
Well, hold on. You don't care about my right to be able to express what I think about it if it hurts someone else's feelings. So I don't know if you want maximum freedom. I think that you're being very selective on what kind of freedoms. Like, you don't want me to say anything that's going to offend someone, even if it's part of my belief system, even if I think it's true, even if I have evidence that it's true. Right.
No, I mean, I think you should be free to say whatever you want to say. I suppose to some extent, but I would also hope that. Well, okay, so that's limited to actual threats of violence. I think we can restrict that. So, okay, if you threaten somebody with violence, maybe we can put some legal standard on that. I think. Again, I don't think it should be unlawful, but I would consider it disrespectful. Again, if you change your name right now to Bob, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna respect your wishes and call you Bob. And if tomorrow you change your name to Fred, I'm gonna be like, okay, dude, what's up with all this name changing, right? But that's not the way that it works with transgender people. But I'd say if you're trying to diagnose a psychological or clinical disorder, right, you would start looking for those signs. But until you have evidence that there's some form of disorder going on, you shouldn't accuse the person of being unhinged.
Well, unhinged. I'm sorry, a male pretending to be a female is not what I would consider anything that I want to encourage, because I think it's dishonest, because they obviously know.
A male pretending to be a female is a Monty Python skit, right? That's show. A person actively transitioning their body and their lifestyle in order to assume a role, that's a legitimate change in their being, in their.
What do they think they're becoming?
No, they're becoming whatever they are becoming. Again, if you were to go
what
study
is that limited
to? I'm not going to deny you that you're a doctor.
What is that limited to? Because you've already put restrictions on age. It seems like it's limited to gender. That's what they're allowed to choose. Like, they can't choose to be, as Wildheart said, an attack helicopter or a mountain lion, because that to us, we'd say that's absurd. but yet we're convinced that someone saying that they're transitioning into something that they're not, as though surgeries and hormone replacement therapy is going to actually change what they truly are and have always been. It won't. It won't. That's nonsense, and it's just as silly as saying that you can change someone's age by just them believing that they're that age. That's just. I mean, women do it all the time. They'll tell themselves that they're not aging. They're, I'm like 21 forever. They don't really believe it. That's just some shit they say.
So, to whatever extent it is possible to alter someone's physiology, they should be allowed to do that, and that decision should be respected. And I don't think, the whole thing with like being a mountain lion, like,
where did I say they shouldn't do it?
An attack helicopter, right? That's ridiculous.
Why?
So let's say somebody identifies as a dog. They want to live as a dog.
Yeah.
They denounce the use of clothing. They eat from a bowl. They live in a, whatever, I can't think of the dimensions, but they live in a doghouse, right? For all intents and purposes, that person is a dog. We named them Rover. They hang out in the backyard, shit on the grass, etc. Why should I not respect that person's decision to live as a dog?
Because they're insane. I mean, you can let them do it, but you just don't keep you don't go over and shovel their shit out of their backyard for them because they pretend they can't do it, because you fucking know that they can.
But I've adopted Rover. I mean, I've taken on this responsibility. I mean, it's another life. I love life. I'm very empathetic.
Okay.
They needed a good home. It's a rescue situation.
I think that's fantastic if you want to do that.
A humanitarian effort, one might say.
But you don't get to ask me to take you for a walk.
Yeah, but what Will's saying is that's great if you want to do it, and that's fine. But I kind of get what he's saying. If he chooses not to call that human Rover and shovel his shit up, he should have the right to not call him Rover. And yeah, because it's great if he wants to do it, but yeah,
it's infringement, and it's almost thought policing. It's very close to thought police to say, well, my definition of a woman is an adult born female. And then someone says no to me that, no, you're wrong. You must not think of it that way. And in fact, I'm going to shun you as a human being. I'm going to treat you like crap. I'm going to say things about you in public until you lose all your friends. And I'm going to oppress you, and I'm going to torture you because you think that way. It's forcing someone to say something that they do not believe. It's forcing them to lie. This is just as disrespectful. It's just the other way around. Somehow, I'm expected to say that someone is whatever gender they choose when it's evident they are not that sex. And call me old-fashioned, call me outdated, fine, I am. But in my mind, and the way that I refer to that is in the traditional sense. And I can't just make my brain different. I don't choose what I believe. So it's oppressive, and somehow they have the right to oppress me for something that is not my fault. But they expect me to respect them. They don't respect me. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not saying it very well.
It's a double standard.
Yeah. And I actually had the opposite position.
Yeah, but you're talking about the mutually exclusive concept.
Kev, you got a delay, but it's your show and you've got space.
You're talking about mutually exclusive concepts, where this traditional idea of a masculine. What's the word I'm looking for? So there is a traditional relationship where the male is the breadwinner. He is the stronger of the two sexes. He goes to work. The woman has kids, takes care of the house. This all starts to sound very like idyllic, right? But it's also a dated concept where we know that things don't always work that way. Sometimes women earn more money. Sometimes women choose not to have children, right? So there's a lot more dynamics at play. So there's no reason we have to strip things down to what you were born with a vagina, therefore, right? There's no reason we have to actually just.
There is a good reason.
What's the reason?
Because it's 99.999% true.
True that because you were born with a vagina, what?
And then you grow to adulthood, you're a woman.
But you don't have
to. I didn't say you have to be. I said on average. This is just the way it's always been. And to expect someone to dismiss like all of the history of humanity and what is average to accommodate a very small group, it's nice to do that, but why should it be expected?
Why, there's not a good reason not to.
Yes, there's a reason. It's just 99% true. It's just, I mean, just on average, it's really high.
The truth is that if no intervention process takes place, a biological person of one sex will develop to be the same sex. They will remain the same sex because no intervention's taken place. That's just, I mean, so if intervention takes place, all right, let's say you have a child who is overweight, and at some point you're able to put them on a certain medication that helps them to maintain a healthy body weight. And as a result of that, they do not become obese. Mm-hmm. Have you done a legitimate medical intervention?
What you just referred to is bringing them back to the norm.
Well, I don't know about that. I think the norm is obesity in the U.S. of A.
Maybe in the U.S. of A, especially in poorer places, you could be right. But on a world average, what being poor results in is being thin.
But my point is that what happens and occurs naturally as a result of whatever environment you're in doesn't necessarily mean that it has the best possible outcome.
Okay.
Right, but you just referred to them being overweight, which means overweight compared to the average. Now we're trying to bring them back to a healthy average.
I'd like to
ask. But the goal is just to feed all these kids to maintain the norm. That was the goal. We're just going to give these kids food, make sure that we don't want them starved, right?
Yeah, granted.
So you had to perform some type of you had to perform some type of intervention in that process in their development.
Oh, I think I need you to know what the word health means.
So I mean, I guess to go back to Williams' phraseology, if you have some type of disorder going on, then that disorder has to be addressed. It has to be brought into balance.
Okay, well, what do we mean by disorder? Because my thought on the psychology, the definition of disorder is something that is out of order, as in meaning not of the norm. That's what disorder means.
Well, I mean, that's yes, but definitionally that's correct. But in terms of psychology, really anything that's meant by disorder is something that causes a detrimental. It is in detriment to the person's well-being, their functionality.
Like for instance, if someone is so at the end of a bell curve, whichever end doesn't matter, but they're very far at the end of a bell curve, and that causes them tension, say socially, sexually, in employment, financially, it causes them all these detriments, then it's a disorder.
But what is the disorder? Because you named a number of symptomatic outcomes, right? Like, so you said sexually, financially. What was that?
Dwarfism. A dwarf.
So he's a dwarf, and this is caused.
They were born that way.
Right. Well, okay, and I'm trying to think of a way. You can't necessarily reverse dwarfism. You can artificially give a person height. There are definitely surgical procedures. You can wear lifts.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
There are methods.
Yeah, stilts.
And I think that's more of a condition than a disorder, right? Like, or rather, no. Okay, so if you have, like, disorder implies that something can be done that corrects whatever's going on. Like, dwarfism is something that you can artificially alter the physiology of the person to some extent, right? But that doesn't alter the fact that they are forever a dwarf, which is not something like gender dysphoria, right? There is a solution for gender dysphoria. If you suffer from gender dysphoria, you will have conditions of a disorder, symptoms of a disorder, and then if you address it appropriately through therapy and other things, then you can begin to correct the symptoms of that disorder. It's like
now you're just talking about what science concentrated on and what science didn't concentrate on. That's all you're saying.
Well, sure. I mean, what science can concentrate on more accessibly, like more easily. I'm going to say it's an easy solution. And I'm going to say, this is where I'm critical of the medical field, is like, because if you say, like, somebody has depression, well, here, let's give them an SSRI. And in a perfect world, that would cure depression, right? But it doesn't always work. But that is the scientific answer. There's no other cure for depression that I'm aware of other than, like, sunshine and exercise.
Actually, there's other things like devoting yourself to others. Is a huge help to depression, but that's beside the point. Okay, so getting away from depression, getting back to the dwarf, just to keep it simple for me, because I'm a simple person, and I get confused easily. So dwarfism is a condition.
Oh, so Richard. Sorry, Richard. Sorry to rudely interrupt, but that is perfect. Why should you never have sex with a demented dwarf? Because it's not big and it's not clever. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. You set that up perfectly. I couldn't resist it. Sorry.
Okay, he's gonna hurt you.
I can appreciate that. I'm not going to hurt him very bad.
All right, back to the dwarf, Richard. Get on that dwarf.
Yeah.
Okay, so a dwarf is just simply born that way, and we're medical science, probably more motivated financially to address dwarfism than it would have done more for dwarfs. There would be better prosthetics, there would, etc. there'd be hormone therapy, maybe stem cell therapy, something, right? But we haven't done that, probably because there's no money in it. Whereas with trans issues, we have poured a lot of money. That there are all these specialty surgeries developed, etc., hormone therapy, everything except for like fundamentally changing their biological situations so that their physicality matches their mental state. That's the only thing we haven't done, which is what Will was saying. In a perfect world, you would just change their genetics and they would become what they believe that they are. Although I'm not sure that would work out, but that's beside the point. Okay, so like in dwarfism, you're saying something like, well, Kev, what are you saying? Because what I gathered from that was you're giving evidence to my thought process that I'm correct in that if a person were born a dwarf, there's really nothing that needs changed. It's just that they're outside of, they're at the end of a bell curve, and that is where they are.
And my point is that if there is a way to change them, alter them physically, medically, that is their decision. I don't have a stake in saying that if, and I think you brought the dwarf into it, but let's say if I could put artificial shins, I guess, artificial, some kind of bone in the leg, I'm assuming, into this dwarf, and they would no longer be a dwarf, right? I would have no objection to doing so, right? And then if, given that they've undergone that procedure, sure, they may have been born a dwarf, but they would no longer be a dwarf if they're now 5'9" or whatever.
Okay, at least you're consistent. I appreciate that. All your brains, I love all you guys. I really, really do.
Mic check.
Hey, Hillary's.
Greetings, Hillary.
You're a little low.
My audio, okay. I'm on a earpiece. I'm trying to cook.
No, we were talking about dwarves. I'm calling you a dwarf.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I turned it up a little bit. The monkey was correct about the disorder. It's just anything that has a person that's not able to fit into their surroundings well. So hyperintelligence could be a disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And dwarfism, you kept saying cure, and psychology doesn't have cures. We only have treatment. So for the depression, you're right. If it's seasonal depressive or seasonal affective disorder, you can have more sunlight and exercise and sociability. If it is a hormonal issue, you can give SSRIs or various other treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy or talk therapy. And for dwarfism, you could either give them longer legs, prosthetics,
Stretch.
Yeah, stretch, exactly. Or you could build a smaller house or alter their house, and it's no longer a disorder at that point because now they have fit into their environment. So give them a little person house, it's no longer a disorder.
Until they leave the house.
Well, yeah.
You just hit all of my fetishes too. I just gotta say, I'm feeling real kinky.
You guys are turning me on.
You ever marry a man or thought about it? And asking for
I ain't saying I'd marry a man, but I'd lay naked on one.
Oh my goodness.
If stretching midgets is wrong, I don't want to be right. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's called the rack, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
what is
And if I might be going like in and out of range with my Bluetooth. So like my dog's barking, even though she just went outside. And I'm also making fried rice on the stove, so I'm going to be going like in and out of range. Just to let you know.
I love fried rice.
Yeah, that's funny with the Chinese, isn't it? Not to bring the string down or anything, but like they always have like a 50-50 choice of like the R's and the L's. They all every time they get it the wrong way around. Do you know what I mean? It's 50-50
Well, if you get it the right way
time.
around, you wouldn't notice.
Fried rice, yeah. Fried, yeah. Well,
And the term English is very witty. You know, that's like a new term for all they'll copy like American United States, actually not American, United States products, but they'll misspell it or they'll represent it poorly, and that's called English products. And a couple years ago, at least, it was very popular to buy English products for the humor of it.
no, no,
It almost sounds like a racist Asian joke.
yeah, sorry, no, I love my Rolex watch. It cost me a fortune, but yeah, Rolex watch.
It is racist, absolutely.
A little bit,
And
a
it's
little bit, yeah, a little bit racist.
It's a little bit racist.
Yeah.
It's all of those things, but I'm not talking about my own preferences. I'm talking about what 20-year-olds were doing some 5 years ago, as far as I knew. Someone else introduced me to the idea. I had no idea.
Yeah, like we didn't start the fire, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, more than that, I don't even believe we were fire.
Harry Truman, Doris Day, Richard, Johnny Ray, South Pacific.
Please don't. That's such a long song with so many. Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, a lot of words. Yeah.
Which I love Joel for that reason, because he's not just repeating some easy phrase that you can easily memorize. He's trying to actually say something which is difficult. I appreciate him for that. But anyway.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, so
It's a fucking history lesson.
yes, it is boring as hell. Okay, so if we're talking about, and this is the fundamental idea that really bothers me about this entire argument, is first of all, I think we should just accept people as people and quit making these value assignments. We should just stop that completely, okay? And it doesn't make sense to me at all when someone says to me, who identifies as a man who happens to have been also born male, and I don't have any, I'm sorry, it's rude, but dysphoria. I just don't even know what that means to have that, because I just don't. Okay, I seem to fit with me just fine. Hold on. I'm sorry. But when someone who's never been me tells me that they feel like me, whatever the hell that means, and I can't even differentiate between what it feels to be me and it feels to be someone else, because I've never been someone else. It's nonsense. It is literally nonsensical that they understand something that they've never experienced that other people experience. For instance, if a trans man, that is to say born female, says, I feel like I'm a man, how in the world do they know that? No, they feel like they better assign themselves to some made up social structure that doesn't actually exist anywhere. And that's what they identify as. In other words, they identify as something that doesn't exist.
But that almost sounds to me like you're saying that people cannot truly empathize with another person's position, right? Like, I can imagine what it's like to give birth to a child, having never given birth to a child. I can appreciate that I have not. I can appreciate that I have not fully been immersed in that experience, but I could try to imagine it.
Wait, did you say empathize or empathize?
Empathize.
Okay.
So, and again, this doesn't like that would exclude the many women who cannot even like carry a child or give birth, right? Like you would say that you would be denying womanhood to any woman who couldn't conceive a child.
No.
They don't serve the same purpose and function as most women.
No, they belong to a class or section of the species that typically and in general and in normal situations gives birth. If a woman is born female, which she would be, and then later on can't give birth, it's considered something's wrong. There's a disorder. There's an abnormality. Abnormal meaning it is not the norm. The norm is actually being able to have the baby. But they're still in that class. We don't say they're not a woman because they still have all the other features and functions and DNA and everything else of a birthing person.
So I have a question. Getting back to like what people want to be called and that. Like if you didn't know, like if just you thought they were a woman, but you didn't know that they were a man, and they came up to you and said, "Hello, my name is Susan. Nice to meet you." Presumably, you wouldn't have a problem calling them Susan because you wouldn't know that they weren't a woman, but it's the knowledge of them not being a woman that would,
Of course.
me not, yeah.
And I pointed that out earlier. You do have evidence to the contrary, or else you wouldn't have any mental struggle. You would just think it was a woman.
Yeah.
However, if a woman came up to you and said, "Hi, my name's Susan," I'm thinking she's hitting on me and we're having sex tonight. Women don't do that.
If you were told you were working with a person named Lucille tonight, you had no knowledge of the person. You're just told you were working with a person named Lucille. You're going in. Who are you expecting to see? A man or a woman?
Oh, a woman. In general, Lucille's tend to be female.
They do, don't they? But I have a coworker who is very male, named Lucille, and so if I go into work and I go to see Lucille, I know that I'm going to be seeing a guy with a woman's name tattooed on his neck and a pair of lips. So I don't know. I think we just wrecked that norm.
I'd probably just call him Lulu.
So it doesn't actually matter what you call yourself or what other people have called you. That's, again, like I'm going to respect that person. That's their name, right? And if they tell me tomorrow they want to be called Lou, I'm going to call them Lou. I mean, my perception or my observation of how I believe they identify in terms of gender, right? But I'm not trying to fuck that person. I was going to say, in response to what Richard said earlier, the way that I know that I'm a male biologically is because the first thing I think as soon as I meet a person is, are you going to annoy me and do I want to stick my penis in you? Like there's two questions, like right off the bat. Okay.
No, that's how you identify your gender. That's not how you identify that you are male. That's how you identify that you are a man. That all you have to do to identify whether or not you're male is look down into your pants and see if you have an innie or an outie.
Right, biological male. But you said as a man. What makes me feel like a man? See, I don't think, and there's this because women tend to be on the receiving end of this physically, right? So there's a psychological approach to where
what makes a woman think that she can feel like a man.
If she wants to, hypothetically stick her penis in.
No. Oh, no. What I'm saying is, what makes a woman think that she could possibly feel like a man?
She can probably get a big strap on and peg some dude. She could probably convince him to do it because she can manipulate him psychologically.
Why did we go to sex? Is sex how we did? Is our sexual encounters how we determine
that's what makes her feel like a man. I mean, it might be what makes her feel like a man.
That just means she has a fetish. But when I say to feel as though you are, okay, I didn't say what she could do with that feeling. I'm just saying what makes her think that it's even possible for her to actually feel like a man. Males can assume that at one point what we're feeling is what we call manhood or masculinity or whatever because we're male. But women, where would they even begin to think that that's something that was within their spectrum of experience?
Wait, I'm trying to understand. So you're saying why would a woman be able? Because Richard was asking how a man could possibly empathize with a woman. Now you're just asking the reverse of that question.
Not empathize, but to believe that they are because they feel like they are, like they could possibly know. Right? They're less likely to be able to know than a male, right?
If she's performing the function of a man, she has every right, and she's entitled to feel like a man.
You mean peeing standing up?
Yeah, sure. She can pee standing up. Maybe she's the breadwinner. She's physically superior to her partner. Why shouldn't she be the man?
Those aren't the things that make me feel manly. The things that make me feel manly is when someone gives me respect rather than love.
Okay,
I dig that.
Okay, I mean, I like it, but I think it kind of comes away from the qualities that I listed were the ones that Jill listed earlier. As as far as the differentiation of why, what makes a man as opposed to a woman, he said that men are physically superior. They protect, right? The woman is capable of protecting her male counterpart. The female is capable of protecting her male counterpart. Then why shouldn't she feel like a man?
Because that's not what a man is. And I know someone in our not our close community, but our distant extended community, whose wife's a lawyer, and at least for a while he wasn't working. So does that mean that she's the man, even though she's given birth to 2 children?
She's definitely not the male.
I agree. But I'm just saying, if we're going off of, physically superior or better wage earner, or, I mean, I don't understand where even language is so crazy now. When people say male and female, to me, male and female are linguistic genders. Man and woman are physical innie or outie. So, I even for a long time got confused when someone would say trans male. Because, like, when I was first learning about this, I learned M to F or F to M. And so then that's how I would just visualize it. But if they say trans male, I'm like, are they transing to or from? Which now I understand it's to. But this whole wordplay is crazy. And if we're saying, I kind of lost my train of thought of what I was going to say earlier, but
we should just call them mommies.
Sounds like we're trying to, it's almost like we're trying to eliminate tomboys if we're going to say that they feel like men, and we're trying to get rid of gay men who are effeminate if we're saying that they feel like women. So next time I talk to Stephanie Helms, I'm just going to tell her she's committing a genocide against gay men and tomboys.
I think that we could culturally resolve this by just as men agreeing that whenever we're talking about biological females, that we just call them mommies. In general, they're mommies. Even if some of them can't, we're just going to, as a group, and generalize so that everyone's clear on what we mean mommies. Birthing person, but without the stupid person part, because those are just called women. You can co-opt the word, but you can't get past the mommy part.
Right. Again, this is so Marxist. It's just a corruption of language twist people's language, twist their thinking, twist their behavior, and you get the outcome that they're looking for. So
I
on the
feel
one
like
side, I want to be
I feel
empathetic,
like
but on
it's
the other, I don't want to just roll over them and be dead and be like, oh yeah, we'll just call it whatever you want. You know, people who want the government to control our lives and us to live in a police state, those are anti-fascists. No, that's the definition of fascism. Antifa is fascist, period.
Hillary's, aren't you
Yeah.
saying then that these people who believe these things are actually being victimized?
Yes, definitely.
I agree.
See, I don't think it's a perversion on the language as such, and I don't want to get like tangled up into the whole Antifa thing. But as far as gender is concerned, right, and we were talking about disorders earlier, disorders and how this is a psychological and not a biological phenomenon, right? So we're treating people for a disorder. The disorder is gender dysphoria, and that means that they feel as if their anatomy does not match their mind, right? Like the way that they think that they want to exist in the world. So why wouldn't we correct for that? It doesn't matter that we have to modify our language to like we're gonna have
Right.
this. How is it harmful for us to modify our language in order to accommodate for people who are suffering, in order that there be less suffering?
I agreed with the early part of what you said and then disagree with the last part. I don't think that we should voluntarily victimize ourselves to our oppressors because they claim to be victims. But as far as the dysphoria, yes. If it would help to give them a prosthetic penis, then, you know, either they can afford it, or if it's cheap enough, we can do it. But I don't think that we should have to play mind games of guessing.
They still won't be seen by men as men. It just will not.
Right.
We will not naturally accept them. It just we can't.
But if dysphoria is the issue, and I would liken dysphoria to a person who feels like they've got phantom limb system for a third arm that they never had. So if they really have that, then fine. Let's go ahead and give you this, you know, strap on, and you can wear it all day and feel good about yourself. No more changing the language, no more dysphoria, no more anything else.
What about cutting off bits?
If you want it cut off, we'll cut it off, but we're not going to grow you a new one.
And the taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for it just because you think it might save your life.
For the most part, I would agree. There are some cases where I think maybe we should.
On a personal note, I worked with my sibling who had to tell me at least twice a week why their strap-on was better than my natural. Now, I never brought that up, not once. And I think that kind of discussion is rude in the first place. I wouldn't have that discussion with one of my natural born brothers.
Right.
Because it'd be just inappropriate. Whose member was better than whose member? But why are trans people compelled to make this whole thing a bigger issue than it actually is, and say that somehow they're like better than me or better than you? What is up with that? I thought the whole thing was about equality.
Exactly. And that's the way it should be. Victims don't go around telling people how they're better than everybody else. And that's, again, comes back to the Marxism. It's not about equality. They're going to call it equity, but again, it's not even equity. It just reminds me of the book Misery. You know, I'm going to hobble you. There's another one by Vonnegut, Kurt Vonnegut. I think it was like To Be or Not to Be. And it was where they decided people that were too intelligent, they would either cut out part of their brain or deprive them of oxygen until they became less intelligent, because no one should be more intelligent than anyone else. So we all had to go to that lowest common denominator.
I love that.
So if there's somebody without legs, then let's cut off the legs of every person in society. If there's somebody without arms, let's cut them off. I mean, how far is this going to go? It's insanity.
Brilliant. That's brilliant, though. It's great that you brought that up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I don't know. I haven't been made to feel that way by trans folks in my life. Richard, you're a lot closer to this than I am, and I'm, full disclosure, obviously, that there are no trans people in the room to defend themselves. So, we're kind of just rolling around between us. But I would also say, in defense, we don't have a similar criticism of, gays who have been historically oppressed, where I don't, and have come out of the closet after many years to say, hey, no, that was the fact. It wasn't to rub it in people's faces. It was to say, hey, I've been suffering with this for a long time, and society needs us to acknowledge.
Gays didn't ask us to lie.
Yeah. It's a totally different issue. Yeah, and they didn't say that everyone has to say the gays are superior and the gays get better everything. And no, gays wanted equality. They got equality. They're happy. I'm happy. And if trans want to be equality, by golly, I'm more than willing for them to be happy. I'm willing to even give them a little bit extra, but only a little. And once they start demanding more, then they lose what little extra they got.
Can confirm.
Where are the what would you even call them? I guess there's obviously radicalists. Point me to one. Who are these trans superiority?
Stephanie Helms.
My youngest sibling.
Hey, that's only 2 people in this community out of a community of like 37.
Oh, he asked for a specific. I can give more.
Pocket Locker.
I was like, there's 37 people. Pocket Locker's not trans. Is Pocket Locker trans?
You don't have to be trans to acknowledge them as a victim group that rivals your own, even as deeply victimized as he pretends to be.
No, I want to differentiate between victimhood and superiority, because we use the term superiority like as if.
Right.
Oh, you think they're different?
He's a victim that was given 2 PhDs on our tax money, not his.
Yeah, you're don't. Those things. Victimhood is power. Victimhood is status. It is a privileged position in our country to be able to claim some sort of victimhood umbrella so you can act like an asshole and no one can say anything or they're bigots. It's a great little shelter.
Well, sure, but it doesn't last long in reality, right? Like we have all these flash in the pan instances of people who get outed as racist, but not really racist, right? Like it's bad. But in what way does this actually affect society? Like trending forward, does this actually map out into victims actually becoming oppressors? Because I don't see that. Okay. I still see the same marginalized groups. They become louder, but they do not become actually more effective.
Okay, I would like to have you explain how long a flash in the pan is and how long a short amount of time is, because if I can show you systemic oppression for 80 years written into law, would you agree that's more than a flash in the pan?
Absolutely. I'd say a trend that lasts longer than a single presidential election cycle.
Okay, affirmative action, where there are companies that are larger than, I think, 40 employees, and any government entity has to employ a certain number of fill in the group. And even if that group is the majority in your local area, there's going to be a lot more of them. I'm thinking about my area. That's why I say that.
It's a race-based policy.
Yes,
it's racist against.
It is racist. Yes,
3 groups.
Say people who cannot manage the job.
White people. White people came up with affirmative action.
Right. They were made to feel guilty for some shit that they shouldn't have felt guilty for.
I don't know why it matters. The white people came up with it. Yeah. White people think it's wrong. White people think that's bad. Why is that?
The people who are the recipients of the affirmative action would have been people of color, indigenous peoples, right? They weren't the ones who affected that.
Again, did you hear what I said? I said, yes, white people can do bad things and white people can be wrong. Why is that such a shock?
So it tells me that your response, our response, is to say us being the cis white people in this situation, our response to correct is probably going to be incorrect. If you're actually listening to the marginalized group, you might
what do you mean correct?
That is some mental gymnastics.
Wait, I
Yeah,
want to know
it's
what
probably
correct
gonna be-
means. How do
Yeah,
we correct the
exactly.
past?
Because I would say if you want to say it's not going to be correct, so then it sounds like you're arguing that we should do nothing. Because what I'll say is we tend to overcompensate, and then that becomes the new norm, and then that goes on multi generations, and that's the problem. So we should learn from our past mistakes and say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't jump on this bandwagon this time around.
Well, no, I mean, white people came up with affirmative action as an opposition to reparations. What if
Right.
people of color have been talking about reparations for how long?
I'm not even sure about that. Are you certain that the whites were the first ones to come up with it? I mean, they may have been. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know that. It could have been
They were
written
definitely the ones who
100 years earlier.
enacted it. I'm gonna say, like, what was that, 80? I don't know a year exactly, right? But it was like the late 80s, early 90s. How many? I mean, that was.
No, affirmative action was actually 5.
Oh,
Would
is it that far?
reparations?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's even worse. There's almost no black representation there.
Okay, well, hold on. Would reparations be racist? Reparations to black people.
Would reparations be racist towards black people? No, I mean, I think
reparations to black people would be racist, is what I'm saying.
Would Obama owe or receive reparations?
No, I think it's illogical.
White
I don't think it's a matter of racism. It's just a matter of logic. There's no wrongdoing done to the individual.
That's not an answer.
No, I answered no. It is not.
Is black a race? Is black a race?
Is black a race? Let me. Okay. So,
I hear their lives matter, so I'm sure we're going to have to make a determination.
In America, obviously, some people of African descent or people of color prefer to be called black or brown as opposed to African American or Mexican American or whatever.
Okay,
right?
disclaimer over. Now just answer the question. Is black a race?
Black Americans are a racial demographic.
Okay, all right. Now, based on that, they should receive money from other groups or other races through their government. Is that the understanding of reparations?
I disagree with that. I don't believe because of their race they should.
Okay, well then, you don't believe in reparations, right?
I didn't, and I wasn't arguing that I agree with reparations. My point was that affirmative action, because we brought up affirmative action, was a response by the milieu to the request for reparations.
I was comparing the two, Kevin.
I know, but I think it's an unfair comparison.
Why? They're race-focused initiatives to better some over the detriment of others.
Wait, I want to race-focused initiatives. It's so in this case, you're talking about financial compensation for wrongdoing that was not done to the recipient nor done by the person providing the compensation. So neither party are directly affected. But I don't see how that applies to the trans argument. I don't see how to say that, okay, we fouled up we've made this mistake. We've appropriated resources to a minority to a minority demographic, right? And
Okay.
that has been
Scholarships.
effective.
Yeah, if you're willing to go through like a 2-year course, I'd be willing to show you why economically affirmative action was wrong for blacks, how it hurt blacks specifically. Just like why minimum wage hurts the poor, not the rich. Because black families were doing very well, in many cases better than white families, back in the 1930s through 50s. And then when all the racial issues came up in the 60s, then all the programs started, and that kicked black fathers out of the family, and that set off all these other things. So again, I think the best thing to do is the government stay out of people's business. Say if you want to cut something off or add something to yourself, fine. We're not going to force the taxpayer to pay for it. We're not going to do it. But by golly, if you want to do it, have all the cosmetic surgery that you want. I think that's the best course of action.
I'm not white enough to have a savior complex.
I know, I'm sorry.
I mean, as far as what, if any of these things the government should intervene in, I would say that, as opposed to just distributing funds as such, like whatever, if you're talking about, okay, so affirmative action is not quite the same equivalent, but like say, rather than, issuing, like general assistance payments, maybe more of those funds should be allocated to healthcare resources. And in that case, right, you'd be talking about gender affirming care, right?
No, again, this is the problem with language. When you weaponize language, you're no longer really saying what you mean. These aren't healthcare resources. These are beauty projects. These are pork barrel. Call it what it is. If they get sick, if they get the flu, I'm willing to give them an inoculation or some antibiotics if they have a secondary infection. That's healthcare. But saying that my muscles aren't big enough, so I need to take your muscles or whatever. I mean, I know I'm coming up with absurd examples, but no. Gender affirming care. Well, why aren't people affirming me that I'm, 7'3"? Maybe we need to have a new pronoun that everybody needs to know, and I should be able to sue anybody that doesn't guess the pronoun saying that I'm 7'3". That's the problem when you start instituting laws, is you start making people victims that were never victims or victimizers. Government needs to stay out of it.
I don't think, to me, the point wasn't whether or not people are being victimized in this instance, but whether or not the government is maximizing its resources to benefit the majority of its citizens, right? If it's not doing harm to another group, and we allocate some more to assist with this other group.
What percentage of a slave should you be? Should you be 80% slave or 90% slave?
I don't understand the question. What do you mean?
Okay, you're saying if it doesn't hurt anybody, but we can show you with hundreds of years of evidence showing it is harmful to others. You say, oh, if we can allocate resources. But what you really mean is if we can steal at the end of a gun from this group to give to this group, and the government just, take 85% or whatever their cut is and distribute along their political buddies as favors, because that's really what all these government programs do. It's graft. It's a way for the government to steal while pretending to help somebody. So we can show that all these arguments that you're making are flat. They don't. I understand where you grew up and where you got your education and what you heard from other people, but they twisted you. They made you believe things that are not factually accurate, and they hid the truth. And that's fine if that's the way that you want to remain. But none of us, the rest of us, didn't grow up like that. We saw both sides of the issue.
So it sounds like you're more opposed to big government than trans folks.
Yes.
Get in. So.
That's what I was saying all along. I don't care what these people do, and I'm not trying to tell people they can't marry dudes or trans dudes, whatever the terminology you want to use. Don't give a shit about that. Just don't want the government trying to tell me that I have to change my speech to not offend someone, or they're going to punish me, or that they need my money to pay for their surgeries, because that'll supposedly keep them from hurting themselves due to bullies or some other nonsense. Which that's not a need. Like that's an aesthetic. I'm not paying for that shit. I can't even get LASIK surgery for my eyes. They're not getting fake tallywhackers on my dime.
So what if I, as a white man, thought that I was a black man in my
now you've gone too far. Taboo. That's a great question. You can identify as whatever you want, but you have to acknowledge that you have to start wearing blackface every day. Because there's a process. If you're not putting effort into it, Kevin believes you're not really transitioning.
Yep, you have to do it for something like 2 years.
You have to perm your hair out into a red fro.
That's a lot of makeup. Do you know what I mean?
It is. But you got to commit yourself so people will believe that you really think that you're black.
Would I get a bigger penis at the end? I mean, that's my ultimate goal. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the solution was already discussed. It's a very large strap on. You can pretend to be whatever you want.
Right. 2 years of makeup versus slightly longer penis.
Well, to satisfy some.
Okay, I'm thinking outside of the box, but why aren't there sleeves to increase your size? Or are there?
There are.
Oh,
he was waiting to see who the first would come back with the factual information and how long it took him. That's what he was waiting on. That was a test, and you fell into it, Hillary.
Oh, okay.
And y'all had that information off of handy, didn't you, buddy? I'm just kidding. I didn't know that. They do have that?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So women that are becoming men can actually stretch their clitoral region into huge, giant schlongs. Is that?
I don't know how it works. It's generally like you can add like 50 or 60% to what you've already got, but anything beyond that and it doesn't work right. But like I can send you some links.
See, but I've got a double standard and I just realized it. If a woman had that surgery, and she was being honest, she's like, I'm a female, and I take her home and she's got that apparatus, I'm going to have a totally different sort of, it's not, I'm not going to be able to call you a woman. I'm not going to, I'm not going to call you a woman so there is a double standard there. I will know deep down that you're actually a female because it looks like a cyborg wiener, but I'm not gonna be able to call you a woman.
Yeah, the 7-inch long would kind of give it away.
I think it's essentially the same as a penis pump, though, right? It's pretty much the same organ, so it's just like in the word I'm looking for, the blood sacs, right? And it just fills up with blood. Is that right?
Can you just get this right? So we're talking about a 7-inch long engorged clitoris penis.
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
And in your mind, was it not a monstrosity as you were building the image?
Just a little bit confused, but that's fine.
I don't know what the world record really is, but like, I know I've seen some in photos and video of very large clitorises. Some of them I imagine might be intersex, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But like a 7-inch, wow.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
I did live a link in private chat, so you can see what one of those.
That's a stretch that I'm thumped.
Yeah. But I've seen them because like I've looked for vaginal sleeves before, which is a masturbation product, and then like these other things popped up.
Yeah, I used to have
And
one.
so I know that like you roll it over your own member, and like it gives an extra like 2 to 4 inches depending on what size you get.
You got to warn somebody before you post a link like that, dude. I was trying to figure out what it was, and I realized you were talking about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's pertinent to the conversation. Gotcha. That's the platforms for your boots, right?
Oh, yeah, fill your boots.
But Kevin, I get that all of your points are coming from a desire to serve mankind or to help wrong rights or right wrongs. That's what I meant to say. Help right wrongs and make the world a better place. But I don't think just bowing and curtsying to everyone who claims to be a victim is a good idea. I don't think that's a safe practice.
And I agree with you there. I just, I think the more tolerant and accepting approach tends to be the more productive one. But, I love getting the pushback, the feedback. I think I'll probably have to wrap this thing. So it's been a good one, though. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank everybody for coming. Are there any last words, announcements before I kill the stream here?
Hey, take a look at that monkey. Ooga booga booga.
I love all you guys. In fact, at some level, I love every human I've ever met. But that being the case, I don't see why it's fair to oppress me because I don't have the same view of reality as someone else. And to say that's socially okay, I think is wrong.
Richard, you've met Jill, right?
Yes, I love Jill. I do.
Mm. Okay.
I love Jill enough that I want Jill to be happier and more okay with being what Jill is and what other people are. And Jill seems to have a problem with that.
A closeted homosexual black person
who hates being
teacher.
black and hates blacks.
Yeah.
God bless him.
I tell you, I wouldn't want to have that mind. That would just make me insane. That would just be terrible.
I would just say I'm all for being empathetic. I always try to put myself in other people's shoes. And I'm all for, like, I'm willing to grant people quite a bit of latitude, but I am not for forcing other people to grant others the same latitude that I might be willing to grant them. And that's where it ends. I think that the force principle really needs to be dialed back as far as possible.
All right, very, very fair point there.
I would just like to say thanks, as always. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and much love. Much love to everybody in the side chat. And we'll continue this